Chapter 94. Not at all. I don't have anything to do anyway, so I came here. Lady Qing smiled and immediately took out a book from her bag and handed it to Ting Qingshan. Here, take it. Ting Qingshan took the book. The book was still warm. He lowered his head and looked at the book. On the cover of the book, there were 5 big words: Vigor of the Reckless Bull. He finally got it. With the last 3 levels of the Vigor of the Reckless Bull, his strength could increase again. Yes, Lady Qing said. I won't disturb Big Brother Ting's morning training. I'll go back first. Before Ting Qingshan could say anything, Lady Qing immediately ran away. In the cold winter morning wind, Lady Qing's clothes fluttered in the wind. Looking at her running back was a kind of enjoyment. Ting Qingshan smiled and put the secret book in his bosom. He turned around and returned to the training ground to continue his spear training. On the training ground, the soldiers of the Black Armored Corps were training hard. However, many centurions and commandants saw Ting Qingshan and Lady Qing meet from afar until they separated. Hey, did you see that? Lady Qing and Brother Qingshan are together. It seems that they are very close. Haha, Brother Qingshan is a young hero. Lady Qing and Brother Qingshan are a perfect match. From what I see, the first flower of our Gui Yuan sect is going to fall into our Black Armored Corps. The centurions laughed and discussed. In the Gui Yuan sect, there were many people pursuing Zhuge Qing. They were mainly divided into 2 groups: the core disciples of the Gui Yuan sect and the soldiers of the Black Armored Corps. In the dark, the 2 sides were also fighting in the dark. They wanted to see which side would be able to marry the beauty. Be quiet. This is the training ground. It's not a place for you to chat. A cold shout sounded. The centurions turned around and saw that the one who spoke was Shirasaki Commandant. The centurions exchanged glances and snickered. They didn't say anything else. Shirasaki Commandant glanced at Ting Qingshan coldly, sneered and said, "A poor boy who has just arrived at the Gui Yuan sect, seduced junior sister Qing Qing. It seems I have to find a chance to let you understand your true identity." Among the many men who were pursuing Miss Qing, Shirasaki Commandant was one of them. Martial artists cultivated inner strength, and most of them had a long lifespan. There were many in their 30s who had yet to marry. For example, Zhang Feng of the 4 Great Commanders and the only female commander of the 4 Great Commanders weren't married yet. Shirasaki Commandant was also unmarried. Morning exercise. The weather was fine. But soon, the wind blew and the sky darkened. By the time Ting Qingshan and the others were having lunch, heavy snow began to fall. Auspicious snow indicates a bountiful year. It's a good thing to have a heavy snow before the new year. Ting Qingshan felt the coldness of the snowflakes falling on his palm. He was very happy. He glanced at Ting Qinghu and said, "Cousin, you seem to have something on your mind this morning. What are you thinking about?" Ting Qinghu walked with his head down and didn't say a word. "Cousin!" Ting Qingshan shouted. Ting Qinghu was startled. He raised his head and looked at Ting Qingshan. "What's wrong, Qingshan? You're asking me what's wrong? You were still smiling 2 days ago. Look at you now, you look like you have something on your mind. You're just short of writing the words 'I'm very annoyed' on your face. What is it that you can't tell me? Say it, don't hide it in your stomach," Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Ting Qinghu hesitated for a moment. He clenched his teeth and looked at Ting Qingshan. "Qingshan, do you like Lady Qing Qing?" Ting Qingshan was stunned. "What's wrong with this? I like Qing Qing?" Ting Qinghu wiped his face and said, "It's nothing. I won't hide it from you. When I saw Lady Qing Qing, I didn't know why but I fell in love with her. I also know that I'm not good enough for her. So I just thought about it in my heart and didn't dare to say it. Today, when I saw Lady Qing Qing come to find you alone, I guessed that she likes you. I'm happy for you, but I also don't feel good." "But Qingshan," Ting Qinghu said anxiously, "don't worry about me. In any case, I don't have the ability to marry such a good girl. You just need to bring honor to our Tingjia village and marry Lady Qing Qing. Ting Qingshan was stunned. Pa. Ting Qingshan slapped Ting Qinghu's head and scolded with a smile. Cousin, your brain is full of paste. I like Lady Qing? Who told you that? You don't like such a good girl? Ting Qinghu asked back. She's a good girl, but does everyone have to like her? Ting Qingshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He then stared at Ting Qinghu and said, Cousin, listen to me clearly. I don't have any feelings for this girl. If you have the ability, you can marry her. As for me, I don't like her. Ting Qinghu blinked his eyes. Okay, let's go back. Don't stand here like an idiot. Ting Qingshan put his arm around Qinghu's shoulder. The two brothers put their arms around each other's shoulders and walked towards the house in the swirling snow. I fell in love with Lady Qing? Ting Qingshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Looking at Lady Qing, Ting Qingshan felt as if he was looking at his younger sister, Qingyu. It was purely the feeling of an older brother towards his younger sister. Moreover, in his previous life, he had lived for 29 years. In this life, he had lived for 16 years. He no longer had the mentality of a young man. After experiencing so much, his temperament was already as firm as a rock. How could he be moved so easily? Facing this kind of pure and innocent girl, Ting Qingshan only had the heart to watch from afar. He didn't have any dirty thoughts. Marry a wife? Without his father and mother's request, Ting Qingshan wouldn't be in a hurry. Unless he met someone who could truly move his heart, he wouldn't marry. The snow was getting heavier and heavier. In the afternoon, Ting Qingshan's courtyard was already covered with a thick layer of snow. Sitting cross-legged on the snowy ground, Ting Qingshan's body was already covered with a layer of snow. In the stable, the azure mane treading on snow horse raised its head and looked at Ting Qingshan, who was cultivating. Then, it lowered its head and ate some dried grass. Cultivating inner strength is actually opening up one meridian after another in the process of cultivation. As the meridians become more and more unobstructed, the speed of cultivation will become faster. Many people spend tens or hundreds of years and still can't open up the most difficult conception and governing vessels. However, my body's 8 extraordinary meridians, 12 main meridians, and many other minute meridians are all unobstructed. This way, cultivating inner strength is much easier. Ting Qingshan felt relaxed and content. Cultivating inner strength was like galloping across a flat plain for him. In his previous life, the most troublesome part of transportation was the construction of highways. Every highway consumed an endless amount of manpower and resources. But after the highway was built successfully, transportation became more convenient, and the economy increased rapidly. Opening up the meridians was the process of building the highway. It was the most troublesome part. But for Ting Qingshan, it was equivalent to building the highway from the beginning. Transporting goods and inner strength was, of course, fast and simple. 8th level. Ting Qingshan had already started to circulate the chant for the 8th level of cultivation method. Within his body, inner strength surged. Every meridian had inner strength circulating, and waves of numbness spread throughout his body. After cultivating to the 8th level, the speed of refining the spiritual qi of heaven and earth is more than 100 times faster than when I used Xing Yi Fist to refine inner strength. It seems that even if my inner strength is used up, it can be completely recovered in a few hours. Ting Qingshan sighed. In my previous life, inner strength was like a treasure, and I couldn't bear to waste it. It was completely refined from the blood essence in my body, but in this life, inner strength is worthless. Unknowingly, Ting Qingshan stepped into the 9th level of the vigor of the reckless bull. Inner strength was like a flood, majestically flowing through the 8 extraordinary meridians. The most difficult part of the 9th level was opening up the conception and governing vessels. The numbness is getting stronger and stronger. I didn't expect that by stimulating the meridians with inner strength, it could actually cause the meridians to become tougher. Ting Qingshan followed the instructions in the secret manual. The so-called stimulation of the meridians was to circulate the inner strength around the meridians and rub it over and over again. It was very gentle, for fear of injuring the vital meridians. According to the secret manual, once the vital meridians were injured, the speed of circulating the inner strength to the meridians would be very slow. Meridians? I understand this principle. The meridians are the highway, and the meridians are the bridges of the highway. Once the bridge is damaged, the speed of crossing the bridge will naturally be slow. Once the bridge is broken, the entire highway will be useless. Ting Qingshan felt that the inner strength in his body was like a rolling snowball, becoming more and more vigorous. A large amount of inner strength rushed towards the dantian. The dantian was like a bottomless pit, constantly absorbing the inner strength. After a long time, Ting Qingshan felt that his dantian was swollen, and he could no longer store any more inner strength. And, it's full? Ting Qingshan secretly sighed. According to the vigor of the reckless bull, the dantian is very small for the beginning stage of inner strength training. As time goes by, the dantian will become bigger and bigger. There will be a day when the dantian reaches a limit and can no longer expand. However, I still have some distance to reach the limit of the dantian. The size of the dantian was limited, and the amount of inner strength it could store was also limited. It was not endless. Because of this, martial artists would exhaust their inner strength when they were fighting. However, as they trained, the dantian would gradually become bigger. Just like a human stomach, the more food one ate, the bigger it would become. Of course, there was a limit. After reaching a limit, no matter how much he trained, he would not be able to become bigger. In the courtyard, Ting Qingshan, who was sitting cross-legged, had turned into a snowman. Who? Ting Qingshan stood up and the snow fell down. 9th layer? It's that simple, and I have reached the 9th layer. To me, the most precious thing is still the 9th layer, the chant to release inner strength. With a thought, the inner strength in Ting Qingshan's dantian suddenly erupted, surging out along the 8 extraordinary meridians, and then converging into the meridians in his right arm. Ah! Ting Qingshan felt a sharp pain in the meridians in his body. The pain made his expression change, and the inner strength quickly dispersed from the tiny meridians in his arm. Chi. A lot of inner strength shot into the snowy ground, leaving small holes. That was close. Ting Qingshan's expression changed drastically. Just now, 8 streams of inner strength gushed out from the 8 extraordinary meridians, and then converged in Ting Qingshan's arm. The capacity of the meridians in his arm was not as good as the 8 extraordinary meridians and 8 main meridians. The amount of inner strength that converged was too much, and it almost ruptured one of the meridians in Ting Qingshan's right arm. Fortunately, all of Ting Qingshan's meridians were cleared, and immediately dispersed through the tiny meridians. My 8 extraordinary meridians are too wide. Although I can instantly release a lot of inner strength, the number of meridians in my arm is too small. No matter how much ammunition I have, I can't shoot it out in an instant. What a pity! Ting Qingshan smiled helplessly. When he first practiced the 6th layer, the amount of inner strength that converged was very little, and the meridians in Ting Qingshan's arm could still withstand it. But this time, it was not possible. It seems like the vigor of the reckless bull was right. I need to spend more time to widen and nourish my meridians, Ting Qingshan thought to himself. In the days that followed, Ting Qingshan leisurely stayed in the black armored corps. Other than the usual spear practice, and occasionally leading the soldiers to practice horsemanship, he spent the rest of his time practicing the vigor of the reckless bull to nourish his meridians. As time passed, Ting Qingshan's meridians gradually became wider and tougher. Chapter 95. Soon, the day of the yearly sacrifice arrived. On the evening of the yearly sacrifice, Ting Qingshan truly saw how many disciples there were in the Gui Yuan sect. The black armored core, the Gui Yuan sect's core disciples, and the outer disciples. 3 groups of people, totaling tens of thousands of people, gathered in the vast drill ground of the black armored core. Under the leadership of the sovereign, Zhuge Yuanhong, and many elders, these tens of thousands of people carried out the sacrificial ceremony and worshipped Emperor Yu. After that, a lively arena competition was carried out. Those who won the competition would receive rewards. However, Ting Qingshan didn't participate. During the yearly sacrifice competition, the most outstanding person was the young sovereign, Zhuge Yun. Zhuge Yun's azure lightning sword art was extremely powerful and defeated over 10 people in a row. In the end, Yu Song fought against Zhuge Yun. Zhuge Yun was forced to use the 9 lightning swords and actually defeated Yu Song. In the blink of an eye, Ting Qingshan had been in the black armored core for over 2 months. The cold winter had passed and it was now the beginning of spring. In Ting Qingshan's courtyard. "Brother, you must win this time." Lady Qing shouted happily in the courtyard. "I think I will lose again." Ting Qinghu smiled proudly. At this moment, in the courtyard, Ting Qingshan and the young sovereign, Zhuge Yun, were exchanging pointers. Zhuge Yun's entire body turned into a shadow and moved around Ting Qingshan at an extremely fast speed. Ting Qingshan, on the other hand, moved slightly within 1 zhang. He held his spear with one hand and blocked Zhuge Yun's sharp sword with lightning speed every time. Clang! 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 The sound of the long spear and the sharp sword clashing was very concentrated. "Such a fast sword!" Ting Qingshan secretly exclaimed. In terms of sword speed, he should be the number 1 in the younger generation of the Guiyuan sect. Furthermore, Little Cloud's speed is comparable to my maximum speed when I unleash all of my physical strength. Ting Qingshan's body was monstrous. Even if he didn't use crossing worlds, the extreme speed of his body was already very scary. From this, one could imagine how fast Zhuge Yun's speed was. Haha! Little Yun, your 9 lightning swords are indeed as fast as lightning and continuous, and your pace perfectly coordinated. Unfortunately, he just couldn't break my spear technique. No matter how fast you move, how can you keep up with the speed of my spear? Ting Qingshan laughed as he resisted. If you don't have a unique skill, you will still lose today. This was already the 3rd time that Zhuge Yun and Ting Qingshan had secretly fought against each other. He had lost the first 2 times. However, every time he lost, Zhuge Yun would improve the next time he came. Unfortunately, the defense of Ting Qingshan's transmutation unity law was like a tortoise shell. "Who?" Zhuge Yun quickly retreated and solemnly looked at Ting Qingshan. "Big brother Ting, the last 2 times I fought with you, I have mastered the 9 lightning swords. In this half a month, I have been learning the one-line sword. This one-line sword is one of the best sword techniques in the Guiyuan sect. I only know a little, but you have to be careful." The azure light lightning sword art, 9 lightning swords, and one-line sword were progressing. Only after mastering the 9 lightning swords could one learn the one-line sword. "Oh!" Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened. "Don't let me down." Ting Qingshan was ready. Zhuge Yun held the 3 qi long azure sharp sword and condensed his aura. Suddenly, Zhuge Yun's eyes suddenly became fierce, and the 3 qi long sword in his hand disappeared. Ting Qingshan only saw a green light shooting towards him. There was only one ray of green light. Boom! Ting Qingshan's physical strength instantly exploded, and the long spear in his hand also turned into a shadow. Clang! The long spear directly knocked the azure sharp sword away and slightly shook Zhuge Yun's chest. The azure sharp sword was thrown far away and smashed into the wall, causing the wall to tremble and crack to appear. As for Zhuge Yun, he was shaken by the long spear, and the strong force caused his whole body to fly up and then fall down. Ting Qingshan's control of force was very exquisite, and Zhuge Yun was not injured at all. The sword just now was so fast. Ting Qingshan was secretly shocked. Just now, my physical strength instantly exploded to more than 20%. Zhuge Yun's sword was a green light. It was so fast that Ting Qingshan had to use 20% of his strength to make the long spear keep up with the sword. Brother, you lost again. Lady Qing laughed. The sword just now was so fast. Ting Qinghu praised. But Qingshan's spear is even faster. Zhuge Yun smiled helplessly and looked at Ting Qingshan. Big brother Ting, you really are a monster. I comprehended the Azure Lightning Sword art and the 9 Lightning Sword, but I only comprehended a little bit of the one-line sword. The power of this one-line sword is comparable to the wave-breaking force of the Zhangjiang sword art. Just this sword alone consumed close to 10% of my inner strength. It is much faster than my 9 Lightning Sword, and you can even block it. Little Yun, your sword art is very scary. If it was any faster, I'm afraid that even I wouldn't be able to block it. Ting Qingshan praised. If I didn't cultivate the vigor of the reckless bull, I wouldn't be able to block this sword of yours. Zhuge Yun's sword was indeed fast. My father said that in this world, speed is the only unbeatable sword art. When my one-line sword reaches completion, I will definitely be ranked 72 in the Earth ranking. Zhuge Yun said confidently. Only speed is unbeatable? Ting Qingshan laughed. He didn't agree with this. Nothing was unbeatable and unbeatable. Sword art that was fast to the extreme was very scary. But when one's body was tyrannical to the extreme, even when one's sword pierced the opponent's body, the opponent wouldn't be injured. How could one win? Yang to the extreme, yin to the extreme, fast to the extreme, strong to the extreme in this world, there were tens of thousands of paths, and every path that reached the extreme was very scary. If one day I can reach 10% of my father's, then I will be able to defeat you, Qingshan, and I will be able to move unhindered in the world. Zhuge Yun said. Zhuge Qing, who was at the side, giggled. Brother, with your temper, you practice the sword for less than 6 hours every day. You still want to catch up to father? Go and ask martial uncles. When father was young, he practiced the sword every day, and he even hugged the sword to sleep. Back then, he had the title of Sword Demon. Father is much more hard-working than you. But it's strange, now father doesn't touch the sword anymore. If he's not drawing, then he's playing chess. Isn't father worried that his strength will drop? What do you know? Father's sword art has already reached an unfathomable level. Zhuge Yun's eyes had a trace of worship. Ting Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. How strong is sovereign Zhuge Yuanhong? Ting Qingshan really wanted to challenge Zhuge Yuanhong. But he hides his strength too deeply. I can't feel how strong he is at all. But the strength that Xiao Yun has shown is already strong enough. Then what about the innate rancor sovereign? Ting Qingshan only admired Zhuge Yun's strength, but he didn't care about it. Among the post-liminary rancors, no one could be his opponent. The ones that could threaten him were the terrifying innate rancors. Although he wanted to challenge them, Ting Qingshan didn't want to reveal his trump card, so he could only endure it. At night, Ting Qingshan was practicing his spear art in the courtyard. Phew! 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 The long spear turned into a shadow, and its speed was extremely fast. The pursuing shadow spear art was originally an evolution of the collapsing fist and is of the wood attribute. It should grow and multiply endlessly. Not only does the pursuing shadow spear art need to be fast, it also needs to have the concept of growing and multiply endlessly. Ting Qingshan's pursuing shadow spear art also made slight improvements as he pondered and studied it. Pursuing shadow spear art, transmutation unity chi spear art, and toxic dragon drill spear art. These 3 spear arts, Ting Qingshan gradually perfected them. Bang! Bang! Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Ting Qingshan kept his spear and opened the door. A male disciple of the Guiyuan sect was standing outside the door. Ting Qingshan, please follow me. Sovereign wants to see you. The disciple said. Sovereign wants to see me? Ting Qingshan was a little surprised. Yes. The disciple nodded. Although he was puzzled, Ting Qingshan held his long spear and followed the disciple out of the house. They walked towards the Gui Yuan sect's core disciple area. Outside Zhuge Yuanhong's study room, Ting Qingshan had already arrived at the door. There was a faint light in the study room. The male disciple bowed and said, Sovereign, Ting Qingshan is here. After that, the male disciple left. Qingshan, come in. An indifferent voice came from the study room. Why is Zhuge Yuanhong looking for me? To accept me as his disciple? Ting Qingshan was puzzled, but he did not hesitate. He directly went forward and opened the door of the study room. Creak. When the door opened, Ting Qingshan saw Zhuge Yuanhong sitting in front of the desk, reading a thread-bound book. When Zhuge Yuanhong heard the door open, he put down the book and looked up with a smile. Oh, Qingshan, you are carrying a spear even when you come to my place. No wonder your spear art has reached such a high level at such a young age. Qingshan is only immersed in practicing hard. He doesn't know anything else. Ting Qingshan said. And Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and nodded. You are neither arrogant nor rash. Very good. I was surprised that you were able to break Yun Er's one-line sword when you were sparring with him. It seems that your inner strength is much stronger than when you were competing for the centurion position. What level have you reached in your vigor of the reckless bull? The 8th level, Ting Qingshan said. Of course, Ting Qingshan had mastered the 9th level. However, due to the limitation of his meridians, Ting Qingshan could only rely on his inner strength to instantly unleash his strength, which was equivalent to his physical strength of around 50,000 jin. However, Ting Qingshan did not dare to tell Zhuge Yuanhong. If he said that he had mastered the 9th level, wouldn't that mean that his 8 extraordinary meridians had been completely opened? And almost all of the 8 extraordinary meridians have been opened. Only the conception and governor meridians have not been opened yet. It seems that you had a fortuitous encounter in the past. Zhuge Yuanhong praised. It was impossible for Ting Qingshan to open so many meridians by himself. Furthermore, it was at the age of 17. You are able to reach the 8th level. With your spear art, you have the strength to at least be listed in the Hidden Dragon list. Zhuge Yuanhong praised. But don't be arrogant. Although your spear art is powerful, it seems that you have never learned the basics of spear art. As he said this, Zhuge Yuanhong threw the book in his hand to Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan caught it in surprise. He lowered his head and looked at the book. There were 4 words on the book: Ardent Flame Spear Art. This Ardent Flame Spear Art has a total of 81 moves. Each move is executed with inner strength. It is considered a good human-level secret technique. You should learn the basics of spear art. I believe that it will be beneficial to your own understanding of spear art. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled. Ting Qingshan was secretly happy. His spear art was completely derived from the 5-element fist. He had never learned any of the spear arts in this world. Thank you, Sovereign. Ting Qingshan quickly said. All right, train well. In the future, if you are able to be listed in the Hidden Dragon list or the Earth ranking, it will be the pride of my Gui Yuan sect. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, Oh right, in a few days, your battalion will be heading to Huafeng City to guard the gold mine of my Gui Yuan sect. You should be prepared. Moreover, that Huafeng City is not far from your hometown, E-City. If you have the chance, you should go there and take a look. Chapter 96. Okay, you can leave now. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and ordered. Yes, Sovereign. Ting Qingshan bowed slightly and then quietly walked out of the study room. As soon as he walked out of the study room, the door closed automatically. Huh? Closing the door through the air? Ting Qingshan glanced at the door in surprise. I can't do this. Innate masters are indeed extraordinary. Although Ting Qingshan possessed an astonishing amount of strength, this great strength was unable to exert any effect in the air. Immediately, Ting Qingshan stopped thinking about it. At this moment, his heart was full of joy. I can finally go home. Ting Qingshan was a little excited. He didn't have parents in his previous life, but in this life, Ting Qingshan really missed that warm home after living in Tingjia village for so many years. After only 2 months away from home, Ting Qingshan was a little excited at the thought of going home. After all, home was the warmest place in the heart. Pushing open the courtyard door, Ting Qingshan looked at his cousin, Ting Qinghu's room. There was light coming from the window. Cousin, you haven't slept yet? You're quite diligent. Thinking of this, Ting Qingshan walked over and knocked on the door. Cousin, it's me. Qingshan, come in. Ting Qinghu said. Pushing open the door, Ting Qingshan found his cousin was sweating and constantly walking in the room with mysterious footwork. Ting Qingshan smiled and praised, Cousin, this set of footwork is the foundation of the Qing Gong crossing worlds. You must practice it to the point where your heart and footwork are as smooth as flowing water. Only then can this Qing Gong be considered to be successful. Crossing Worlds Qing Gong had a total of 3 levels. The second and third level could only be practiced by innate masters. Currently, Ting Qingshan could only practice the first level. Just after the annual sacrifice, in order to protect his cousin's life, Ting Qingshan passed the first level of Crossing Worlds to him. After all, her cousin's inner strength was only average, and his physical strength could only be considered passable. With such strength, he was still a long way from becoming a first-rated warrior. With this superior movement technique, he would have the capital to protect his life. However, no matter how powerful a secret manual was, it still depended on the individual. For example, Ting Qingshan was a guru in his previous life and had a high understanding of footwork. His pure physical strength allowed him to have a terrifying speed. With the addition of Crossing Worlds, his Qinggong was even more amazing. If Ting Qinghu used it, it would be much weaker. Qingshan, I've practiced this footwork for more than a month, but I still feel awkward. Ting Qinghu finally stopped to rest. Awkward? That's because your realm is low. Ting Qingshan laughed. I'll wait for the day when you don't feel awkward. Moreover, he enjoyed walking this pace. He could unknowingly walk the rest of the day. Not only was he not tired, he even felt more energetic. Your foundation for the first level is complete. Ting Qinghu glared at him. You've been walking for a whole day and you're not tired? Instead, you feel more energetic? Is that true? Of course it's true. Ting Qingshan still remembered the first time he practiced the footwork of Crossing Worlds in his previous life. He quickly entered the state and didn't feel the slightest bit tired. Cousin, I have great news to tell you. A smile appeared on Ting Qingshan's face as he remembered the matter of returning home. What good news? Ting Qinghu's eyes brightened. In a few days, our battalion will set off to Huafeng City to guard the gold mine. Huafeng City is very close to E-City, and on the way to Huafeng City, we will pass by E-City. When the time comes, we can take a trip home. Ting Qingshan laughed. Even if we're guarding the gold mine, we can go back occasionally. Go home? Back to Tingjia village? Ting Qinghu was overjoyed. Haha, that's great. Whether it was Ting Qingshan or Ting Qinghu, they were born in Tingjia village and had a deep attachment to Tingjia village. Alright, cousin, you practice for another hour before resting. Ting Qingshan said and immediately turned around to leave Ting Qinghu's house. 1 hour? No problem. Ting Qinghu had been training hard since he was a child, so his willpower was very strong. Of course, he could continue to persevere at this moment. Ting Qingshan returned to his house and lit an oil lamp. When the oil lamp was lit, Ting Qingshan sat at the side and took out the secret book Ardent Flame Spear Art. The 4 strong words on the cover, Ardent Flame Spear Art, made Ting Qingshan's mood very good. Ting Qingshan immediately flipped through the book. Under the dim light of the oil lamp, Ting Qingshan's eyesight could clearly see the words. Ting Qingshan was completely immersed in the book. He flipped through the pages one by one. There were words, pictures of spear arts, and pictures of the circulation of inner strength in the meridians of the human body. So it's similar to crossing worlds. It uses inner strength to stimulate the acupuncture points and produces a powerful instantaneous burst of power. Ting Qingshan looked and combined it with the Crossing Worlds secret book. Ting Qingshan understood the principles of these spear arts and Qin Gong. The acupuncture points of the human body were very magical. Some acupuncture and massage stimulated the circulation of qi and blood in the body through acupuncture points. And this secret book used inner strength to stimulate the acupuncture points from the inside. It must be known that the acupuncture points of the human body were like the stars in the sky. There were many hidden acupuncture points. It was very dangerous to stimulate the acupuncture points. Because people's physical qualities were different, the endurance of the acupuncture points was different. Once the acupuncture points were stimulated, it would exceed the limit. It would damage the acupuncture point. If it was light, it would cause a great loss of power. If it was heavy, it would cause a cripple or even death. The intensity of the acupuncture points, the sequence, the effect of stimulating the acupuncture points, etc., were all very complicated. For countless years, in order to create this secret book, it was unknown how many geniuses went mad, or their power was crippled, or they died. Compared to Crossing Worlds, this ardent flame spear art is obviously much simpler to stimulate the acupuncture point. Even the degree of stimulation is much weaker. Ting Qingshan smiled. But it's so simple that I have no way to create it. Ting Qingshan still cherished this secret book. After all, this was his first spear art secret book. Creating a spear art that could be combined with inner strength was not a simple matter. The power of every move of the spear art seems to be okay. Let me try 81 moves. Ting Qingshan immediately left the house and went to the courtyard. Holding the reincarnation spear in his hand, Ting Qingshan began to practice according to the description of the ardent flame spear art. Hu! Qi. Once the long spear was used, the sound of air exploding could be heard. Combined with the use of inner strength, the seemingly simple spear art actually exploded with quite a bit of power. For example, when the back thrust was combined with the circulation of inner strength, the hidden and instantaneous explosiveness of the back thrust would immediately increase and its power would multiply. After learning each of the 81 moves seriously once, Ting Qingshan had more or less memorized them. Then, in one breath, he continuously performed 81 moves. Ting Qingshan did not stop and continued to perform 81 moves in one breath. The second time he performed it consecutively, it was obvious that he was much more familiar with it. Ting Qingshan continuously performed it for the third time. This time, Ting Qingshan's ardent flame spear art already had the concept of wielding something heavy as though it was light and could be done with ease. Ting Qingshan sheathed his spear and stood still. Practicing in one breath actually consumed 30% of my inner strength. Ting Qingshan had a smile on his face. However, the power of the combination of inner strength and moves is really not small. Some of it can obviously be used as a reference for my 5 elemental spear art. Ting Qingshan had created the 5 elemental spear art based on the 5 elemental fists. Currently, there were only 3 moves. Among the 3 moves, the pursuing shadow spear art, once performed, was as fast as a mirage and continuous. It was the most suitable spear art for group battles. The transmutation unity law spear art had an astonishing defense. The toxic dragon drill was Ting Qingshan's most terrifying move. Even the scales of the flood dragon were pierced by this move by Ting Qingshan. But Ting Qingshan's spear art had nothing to do with the stimulation of acupuncture points. I used the circulation of inner strength from the ardent flame spear art to increase speed, and used it as a reference for the pursuing shadow spear art. This can make the speed of the pursuing shadow spear art even faster. Ting Qingshan was overjoyed. This ardent flame spear art actually has 81 moves. Most of the moves have similar concepts and can be completely fused into a few scattered moves. In terms of realm, Ting Qingshan had already reached an extremely high level. After practicing it a few times, he discovered that the moves of the ardent flame spear art were complicated and could be used as a reference to fuse new moves. While he was pondering, it was already late at night. When it was late at night, Ting Qingshan went to rest. But at dawn the next day, Ting Qingshan began to study the ardent flame spear art again. It looked easy, but it was difficult to do. Ting Qingshan could easily see that the concept of the 81 moves of the ardent flame spear art could be divided into 5 to 6 types. But to fuse them together was difficult. Morning exercise on the drill ground. Ting Qingshan stood alone at the edge of the drill ground, wielding the reincarnation spear. Occasionally, he would casually thrust tens of times at an extremely fast speed. Afterwards, he shook his head and continued to ponder on his own. What is Brother Qingshan doing? I don't know. I called out to him just now, but he didn't respond. Studying the spear art, he's practically possessed. Indeed, once Ting Qingshan immersed himself in a certain matter, he would truly be possessed. Every day, besides eating and resting, he would spend all his time on the spear art. In these 81 simple moves, Ting Qingshan broke apart and crushed each move. He studied them carefully and continuously comprehended the concept. This ardent flame spear art has 81 moves. It should be mainly divided into 5 types of concept. If I succeed, I should be able to fuse them into 5 moves. In the evening, Ting Qingshan was in his own courtyard. A smile appeared on his face. Speaking of which, these 5 concepts all belong to the fire attribute. If one day I am able to fuse these 5 moves into one, my cannon fist should be able to successfully evolve into a spear art. In the process of pondering, Ting Qingshan discovered that the more he studied the ardent flame spear art, the more he comprehended the fire attribute cannon fist. This was a mutual promotion. Because of his high attainment in the cannon fist, Ting Qingshan was able to deeply study the ardent flame spear art. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Night. Chi. In the dark of the night, rays of cold light suddenly appeared in the courtyard. Under the illumination of the moonlight, the dense cold light covered an area of 3 chi. The large amount of cold light formed a blooming flame flower. Sheathing the spear. A trace of a smile appeared on Ting Qingshan's face. I have finally created the first move of the ardent flame spear art. This is the most dreamy and bewitching move. I shall name this move Silver Flower. After spending 3 days of effort, in addition to his achievement in the fire attribute cannon fist, Ting Qingshan had finally created the first move, a silver flower of the fire tree. Qingshan. Ting Qinghu walked out from the house. Cousin. Ting Qingshan smiled. You still haven't rested? I just finished practicing my footwork. That's right, tomorrow, we will be leaving for Huafeng City. We can go back and take a look. I'm so excited that I can't sleep. Ting Qinghu said excitedly. Leaving tomorrow? Who said that? How come I didn't know about it? Ting Qingshan asked doubtfully. It was announced during the morning exercise this morning. Lord Commander announced it publicly. Everyone heard it, but you didn't? Ting Qinghu asked doubtfully. It was announced this morning? Ting Qingshan smiled. He had been immersed in thinking about spear arts for the entire day. Even when he was eating, his mind was filled with spear arts. How could he listen to what others said? Unless someone came close to him to disturb him, otherwise, Ting Qingshan would ignore them. Naturally, he didn't pay attention to this news. So we are leaving tomorrow. Chapter 97. The next morning, on the drill ground. The cold air of early spring shrouded the drill ground. At the front of the drill ground, there were many cavalrymen. At first glance, the cavalrymen were all black. They stood there like a deep black pool. The thick killing intent made people hold their breath. "Lord Commander, the troops of our battalion have all arrived." Bai Chi was wearing a cold steel heavy armor, and holding a black spear that was nearly 3 meters long. Below him was an extremely handsome scarlet blood horse that was more than 9 feet tall. "Let's go." The black-robed, silver-haired old man, who was also the first commander of the 4 commanders, Lord Ji Hong, said coldly. "Let's go." Shirasaki Commandant ordered. The dense cavalrymen behind him moved. The 500 soldiers all wore high-quality heavy armor and held long spears. They sat on black Vane's horses that were worth 1,000 taels of silver. The 5 centurions leading the troops all wore red iron heavy armor and held long spears. They sat on azure-treading snow horses that were worth 5,000 taels of silver. Under the leadership of Shirasaki Commandant and the 5 centurions, the 1st and 3rd Battalion of the Black Armored Corps quickly left Jiangning County City. They followed the main road and rushed towards Huafeng City. On the official road about 80 miles away from Jiangning County City. Jia! 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 More than 10 horses galloped on the road, stirring up a lot of dust. "Grandpa, why do we have to escape? Don't tell me that thief dares to kill us in the county city?" A young man rode on a horse and asked the old man who was galloping beside him. The old man sighed. "Danchan, you don't understand. If we don't escape, our Yen family will really be finished. Your father trusted that Wang Feng too much. Not only did he fall into Wang Feng's big scam, but he also has something on him. Your father's business is finished. He still owes Wang Feng 500,000 taels of silver. 500,000 taels of silver. Even if we give him all our savings, it won't be enough. Moreover, our Yen family doesn't owe him anything. It was this evil wolf who schemed against our Yen family. We can only escape from Jiangning County and go somewhere else." The young man was silent. He did not know what was going on in Jiangning County City. The Yen family was a wealthy merchant family. He, Yen Danshan, had never had to worry about food or clothing. When he was young, he entered Qing Hu Island and became a disciple of Qing Hu Island. He didn't expect to encounter such a thing when he returned to his hometown to visit his relative. His Yen family was finished. His father's business was finished. Now, he could only take the family's assets and leave Jiangning County. According to the rules of his family, Yen Danshan was supposed to return home from Qing Hu Island after he became an adult and start his business. When Yen Danshan was in Qing Hu Island, he practiced martial arts diligently. Among the group of youngsters, he was considered to be quite skilled. When Yen Danshan had nothing to do, she imagined that when she returned home to do business, she would get a few beautiful maids and a few guards. Then, she would be able to do business in a stable manner. She would be able to maintain her ancestral property and live a comfortable life. But now, it seemed that Yen Danshan's fate was about to change. "Father!" Yen Danshan looked at the man who was riding at the front of the group. That was his father, Yen Xing. He was a very shrewd businessman. Who would have thought that he would suffer such a huge setback this time? Just one setback caused the Yen family's hard work to go down the drain, leaving only a little of the family's asset. Just when this youngster's mind was in a mess. "Ha! Master Yen, where are you going in such a hurry?" A hearty laughter echoed in the sky. The faces of the Yen family's men who were riding at the front immediately changed. They saw war horses galloping out from behind the weeds at the fork in the road. The man in the lead had long hair draped over his shoulders. He had a strong body and held a dark red long saber that was nearly 5 feet long. The man with disheveled hair laughed and said, "Ha! Master Yen, you still want to escape with your money?" At least 100 mounted gangsters had appeared. Mounted gangsters. Someone from the Yen family exclaimed. There were only a dozen of them. How could they fight against 100 fierce mounted gangsters? Run! The Yen family's men didn't slow down. They madly rode their horses and wanted to escape. Haha, us brothers have been waiting for Master Yen. Another loud laughter was heard. Another group of nearly 100 mounted gangsters rushed out from the corner in front of them. The Yen family's men immediately pulled the reins. Master! Big brother! Many people looked towards the Yen family's steward, Yen Danshan's father, Yen Xing. There were mounted gangsters blocking their way in front and mounted gangsters chasing them from behind. What should they do? Brothers, please spare my Yen family. I am grateful. Brothers, how much money do you want? Just say it. Yen Xing said loudly. At this point, they could only use money to buy their lives. Oh, Master Yen, how much money can you afford? The leader of the mounted gangsters with disheveled hair laughed and said, We have so many brothers. If each of us marries a woman and raises children, it will be a waste of money. Here are 50,000 taels of silver notes. Yen Xing took out a thick stack of silver notes from his bosom. Brothers, if you spare my family, these silver notes will be yours. The Yen family's men looked at the mounted gangsters. They didn't want to risk their lives. After all, there were too many of them. TSK. How generous. The leader of the mounted gangsters smiled. But I am a bit greedy. Yen Xing gritted his teeth. My Yen family's gold and silver are all yours. Please let the Yen family live. Otherwise, once these silver notes are torn, they will be worthless. Yen Xing's tone was threatening. At most, he would tear the silver notes and the mounted gangsters wouldn't get their money. The leader of the mounted gangsters sneered. Master Yen, the gold and silver you brought should be your family's savings. Of course, the money hidden in your house is real money. You can destroy the silver notes, but can you destroy real money? Yen Xing's face changed. Indeed, when he escaped this time, he placed gold bars behind the horse. These were all from his Yen family's mansion. Of course, the mansion wouldn't use silver notes. Us brothers not only want your money, but also Master Wang's money. If we don't kill you, how can we get Master Wang's money? So, all of you must die. The leader of the mounted gangsters laughed. Master Wang also told us to bring a message to your Master Yen. Big brother, have a safe journey. Yen Xing's face turned purple with anger. He screamed, Second brother Wang, even if I die, I will not let you go. Brothers kill. The leader of the mounted gangsters suddenly shouted. Instantly, two groups of people, nearly 200 mounted gangsters, rushed towards the dozen people. Yen Xing roared angrily. At the same time, he pulled out the saber from his waist. Father, take Danshan and escape. Yen Xing roared and immediately rushed forward. Nearly 200 mounted gangsters rushed forward. How could these dozen people escape? Pucci. Ah! The young men of the Yen family were killed one by one. There were only 4 people who knew internal strength. Yen Xing, his third brother Yen Danshan, and Yen Danshan's grandfather. Mother! Yen Danshan screamed. He dodged the mounted gangster's saber and pierced the throat of the mounted gangster with his sword. His mother, who didn't know internal strength, was killed by the mounted gangsters in the first wave. Yen Xing was like a madman. He was stabbed 3 times in a row, but he was still crazily killing. Father, take Danshan and escape. Yen Xing tried his best to protect his son and father so that they could escape. Ever since he fell into a scam, when he finally realized that his business was finished, he was filled with regret. Many times he thought of suicide. The remorseful Yen Xing was no longer afraid of death. All he wanted was for his son to live. Danshan, go! Yen Xing roared. Danshan, go! His grandfather also shouted. Father! Although Yen Danshan was in pain, he was still pulled by his grandfather. They rushed out of the crowd and ran towards the west. Pucci! Pucci! A saber pierced through Yen Xing's chest. Another saber slashed across Yan Xing's head. His head was sent flying. Yan Danshan, who was running away, turned around and saw this scene. The mounted gangsters only rushed for a few breaths. Yan Danshan and his grandfather were the only ones left in the Yan family. Haha, trying to escape? Many mounted gangsters chased after them. Father, mother, uncle. Yan Danshan, who had always lived like a prince, had never thought that such a scene would happen. He looked back and saw the roaring mounted gangsters waving their blood-stained sabers. They were riding war horses and were chasing after them. The mounted gangsters rode horses all year round and were skilled in horsemanship. Danshan, run! His grandfather shouted. He held a long sword and tried to stop the mounted gangsters. Grandfather! Yan Danshan's face changed. At this moment, the ground shook violently. The leader of the bandits suddenly turned his head and saw a mighty black flood rushing over from afar. Every single one of them was wearing black heavy armor and riding on black armored warhorses. Each warhorse was 8 feet tall, and every cavalryman was holding a long spear in his hand. That terrifying speed was like a roaring torrent of steel. Black armored corps. The mounted gangster leader's face changed. He shouted, "Disperse, brothers, disperse!" But many of the mounted gangsters didn't have time to react. The black armored corps, who were originally hundreds of feet away, rushed over in a few breaths' time. The mighty black armored corps didn't slow down at all. They rushed through the mounted gangsters as if they were crushing ants. Every now and then, the cold light of the long spear took away lives. This is... Yan Danshan looked at the terrifying army that seemed to have descended from the sky. Black armored corps. It's the black armored corps. Yan Danshan's grandfather was overjoyed. Then, his face changed. Danshan, go to the side. It was normal for the black armored corps to kill them along the way. But it was too late. The speed of the black armored corps was too fast. From crushing the mounted gangsters to rushing in front of Yan Danshan and his grandfather, it took less than a breath's time. Who? A black long spear pierced through. Yan Danshan and his grandfather were completely stunned by the mighty black armored corps' murderous aura. They didn't even have the thought of resisting. Under the momentum of the black armored army's onslaught, it was as if the heavens and earth were collapsing. Even the warriors didn't have any thoughts of resisting. Pung! That long spear suddenly turned and shook twice in front of Yan Danshan and the old man. Yan Danshan and his grandfather were sent flying to the side of the field. I didn't die? Yan Danshan was stunned for a while. His grandfather was also stunned. A black armored corps knight wearing dark red heavy armor pulled the reins and stopped at the side with a long spear in his hand. Yan Danshan looked at the knight in a daze. He remembered that it was this knight who sent the two of them flying with his spear. You two, hurry up and leave. Don't get killed by the surviving mounted gangsters. The knight smiled faintly. Brother Qingshan, don't talk nonsense with them. Hurry up and leave. Another knight wearing dark red heavy armor shouted. Go! Immediately, the knight who spoke also rode his horse and left quickly. The grandfather looked at the black armored corps leaving inside. How lucky. Danshan, that's the black armored corps of the Guiyuan sect. If the black armored corps meets ordinary people on the way, they will slow down and not hurt them. But if they meet bandits or mounted gangsters, they will kill them all. This is also training for the troop. Looking back at the few surviving mounted gangsters with pale faces, he said, Danshan, let's go quickly. Black armored corps, brother Qingshan, that knight is called Qingshan? Yan Danshan murmured. Immediately, under his grandfather's urging, he and his grandfather rode on some of the horses that escaped into the field and fled. Chapter 98. Clatter, clatter, clatter. The dense sounds of horse hooves could be heard. Like a black dragon, a cavalry unit advanced at an extremely fast speed on the official road. The sergeants of the black armored army moved forward in an orderly manner in groups of 100. The 100th unit was at the front, while the 500th unit was at the back. The sergeants had to move forward in an orderly manner, but the 5 centurions and the commandant could patrol the front, back, and surroundings of the unit. Brother Tian, when our black armored corps encounters bandits on the road, we directly kill them? Ting Qingshan was still a little surprised at the reaction of the entire black armored corps just now. More than an hour after leaving Jiangning County City, they encountered the previous battle. Shirasaki commandant only shouted, "Kill!" The entire black armored corps did not hesitate at all. As if they were crushing a group of ants, they charged through the group of over 100 bandit. Brother Qingshan, another centurion, Tian Dan, stood shoulder to shoulder with Ting Qingshan. He smiled and said, "This is your first time bringing an army out? Don't you know the rules of our black armored corps? When our black armored corps marches, we kill all bandits we encounter without mercy. Furthermore, it can also be used as training. These bandits used to rob and kill ordinary people in the past. It is only right for us to kill them." Ting Qingshan smiled and nodded. He did not have a good impression of bandits. Men had strength and courage. Why would they engage in the shady business of robbing and robbing? But Brother Qingshan, you are really kind-hearted. You actually saved that old man and the young man just now. Tian Dan said. At that time, Tian Dan clearly saw that Ting Qingshan wasn't at the very front at the beginning. However, later on, in order to save the old man and the young man, Ting Qingshan immediately sped up on his horse and rushed to the front, sending the old man and the young man flying. If Ting Qingshan had been any slower, the two of them would have been stabbed to death by the black armored corps. After all, an ordinary black armored corps soldier would not be able to send 2 people flying in an instant while sprinting at such a high speed. I saw those bandits chasing after the old man and the youth from afar. To me, it was just a casual attack, and I didn't need to waste too much energy. As for the old man and the teen, their lives were saved. Why wouldn't I? Ting Qingshan said while riding on the azure-treading snow horse. Tian Dan also laughed when he heard that. Amidst the laughter, the black armored corps advanced at top speed. They set off early in the morning, and now the sun was high in the sky. On the official road, the black armored corps advanced without stopping. "It's the black armored corps, get out of the way!" When they saw the black armored corps from afar, some merchants and passers-by quickly ran to the side of the official road, afraid that they would be trampled to death by the black armored corps if they blocked the road. Ting Qingshan rode on the warhorse, his gaze sweeping across the passers-by on the roadside. Those passers-by were either frightened or in awe. None of them even dared to straighten their backs and look directly at the black armored corps. In the face of the murderous aura of the black armored corps, those passers-by's faces turned even paler. "There's still blood on the spearhead. There's still minced meat on the armor of the horse's hooves." The passers-by discussed softly, becoming even more frightened. The black armored corps whizzed past and quickly left. When I entered East City with my father and the others, we were still worried about encountering bandits on the way. But now, it's the bandits who are afraid of encountering us. Along the way, Ting Qingshan also realized that the black armored corps was tyrannical. Along the way, no one dared to block the way, and no one dared to advance in front of the black armored corps. This was the military might of the black armored corps. No one dared to stop them. "Qinghu, we have already entered the boundary of E-City. In a moment our battalion will enter E-City, eat lunch, and rest for a while. You and I will go home for lunch later. Then, we will gather with the army." Ting Qingshan rode his warhorse to Ting Qinghu's side and said, "Yes, I haven't been home for a long time." Ting Qinghu was also looking forward to it. To go to E-City, they would follow the main road. To return to Tingjia village, they would take a detour along the foot of the Great Yen Mountain and arrive at Tingjia village. Jia. Ting Qingshan urged his horse and rushed to the front. Shirasaki Commandant, who was at the front, glanced at Ting Qingshan, who had caught up from behind, and couldn't help but frown. Lord Commandant. Ting Qingshan said. Oh Qingshan, what's the matter? Shirasaki Commandant said with a smile. Lord Commandant, there's a fork in the road ahead. My home is within the boundary of E-City. I am going to go home with my cousin first. Lord Commandant, you guys can have lunch and rest in E-City. When the time comes, my cousin and I will gather with the army. I haven't been home for a while and I'm really homesick, Ting Qingshan said with a smile. Shirasaki Commandant frowned. Ting Qingshan continued, the sovereign has given his permission for this matter. Zhuge Yuanhong had indeed mentioned this matter, which was why Ting Qingshan dared to say it. The sovereign has given his permission? Shirasaki Commandant's face darkened, and he scolded, Qingshan. All the minor matters of the Black Armored Corps are handled by the officers at all levels. The sovereign doesn't care about them, only the major matters will be presided over by the sovereign. Small matters like you going home are under my control. You have just entered the Black Armored Corps, and this is your first time leading an army, and you want to disregard military discipline? Ting Qingshan frowned. This Shirasaki Commandant was going to make things difficult for him again. Lord Commandant, previously there were 3 soldiers who went home to visit their families. Ting Qingshan said. They were only going to defend the city. Taking advantage of the lunch break to go back was just a small matter. They are ordinary soldiers. Shirasaki Commandant shouted. And you are a centurion, you should set an example. How can you be so casual? At the same time, they are also old soldiers. They haven't been back for a year and a half. How long have you been away from home? 17 years old, you haven't grown up yet. A man's ambition is to travel far. How can you always be homesick? This Shirasaki Commandant spoke with a tone of superiority, casually reprimanding Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan's face darkened. These are not for you to discipline, Lord Commandant. I don't care about these, but whether or not you leave the army is under my control. Veterans can temporarily visit their families, but newcomers are not allowed to go back. Shirasaki Commandant said coldly, Ting Qingshan, if you dare to disobey military orders during the march, I can order for you to be arrested. I can kick you out of the Black Armored Corps. I can even kill you on the spot. Ting Qingshan was enraged, but he had to endure it. This bastard, using a chicken feather as a token of authority. Ting Qingshan was also aware of the military discipline of the Black Armored Corps. During the march and the execution of a mission, anyone who disobeyed military orders had the authority to be killed. It was not strange for there to be such a military order. After all, during the critical moment of the execution of a mission, there was no room for disrupting military discipline. But this time, it was just an ordinary garrison mission. Ting Qingshan, the next time you execute a mission, I won't stop you if you want to visit your family. But this time you can't. Shirasaki Commandant said in a sincere and heartfelt tone, you have to learn to grow up. How can a man always be homesick? Ting Qingshan did not say anything. He pulled the reins and the horse slowed down, falling behind the army. Seeing Ting Qingshan retreat, Shirasaki Commandant sneered in his heart. You want to fight with me? You're an outsider, and you're prepared to be a centurion under me for the rest of your life. I'll suppress you for the rest of your life. When he first saw Ting Qingshan in the limelight, Shirasaki was a little jealous. But when he saw the close relationship between Miss Qing and Ting Qingshan, Shirasaki was burning with jealousy. A higher-ranking official could suppress a person to death. It was indeed very easy for Shirasaki to deal with Ting Qingshan. In the name of military discipline, Ting Qingshan had nothing to say. Unless Ting Qingshan did not want to work in the Black Armored Corps anymore. Ting Qingshan and Ting Qinghu rode side by side on their horses. Qingshan, what's wrong? Ting Qinghu asked. You don't look too good. This time we can't go home. Ting Qingshan's face did not look too good. What's going on? Ting Qinghu was anxious. These few days, the two brothers had been looking forward to going home. It's that Shirasaki. He's using military discipline to suppress me. Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, Qinghu, although this Shirasaki's words are too much, we stubbornly disobeyed his orders. That's disobeying a military order. He has the right to order us to be killed on the spot. So, we can only endure for now and go back after a while. Ting Qinghu was so angry that his teeth itched, but there was nothing he could do. Disobeying military discipline was a big crime. City. The 500 soldiers of the Black Armored Corps rode on their war horses and marched majestically on the spacious street. On the street, no matter if it was the carriages of the rich merchants or the war horses of the warriors, they were all moved to the side of the street. No one dared to block the path of the Black Armored Corps. For a moment, even the hawkers did not dare to advertise for business. Stop. Under Shirasaki Commandant's order, everyone stopped. At the front of the street, there was an elegant man wearing a white robe. There were many soldiers behind him. Shirasaki Commandant, haha, it's been a long time. The elegant man cupped his hands and said. Shirasaki Commandant jumped off his horse and also cupped his hands with a smile. Brother Yang, we haven't seen each other for a year. Brother, you've been living a carefree life, but us brothers have had to endure the wind and the sun. I know it's been hard on you, brothers. The banquet has been prepared in the 4 surrounding restaurants. The elegant man smiled. Immediately, the group of Black Armored Corps dismounted and began to eat in the 4 restaurants. These 4 restaurants were completely booked. There was not a single customer inside. The 8 soldiers of the Black Armored Corps sat around a table, filling up the 4 large restaurants. Ting Qingshan and the other 4 centurions also gathered at the same table. As for Shirasaki Commandant, he was eating with the Lord of City. In the private room, Ting Qingshan and the other 4 centurions sat together. Brother Qingshan, that Shirasaki Commandant looks down on us outsiders. Don't mind him. He's such a narrow-minded person. A bald man with a slightly larger build said to Ting Qingshan with a smile while drinking wine. Old Du, I don't think it's that simple. That Shirasaki is interested in Lady Qing? Can't you guys tell? Tiandan said, It must be because Lady Qing and Brother Qingshan are close. That Shirasaki is jealous, that's why he's targeting Brother Qingshan. Isn't it just a garrison mission? Is it worth making a big fuss over? Ting Qingshan drank wine and had a plan in his mind. Last time, he didn't allow Qinghu to dispatch me, so I gave in. It seems like he thinks I'm easy to bully because I'm young. He's taking advantage of me. After all, Ting Qingshan was a person who had lived 2 lives. The more I give in, the more he'll go overboard. It seems like I have to find a chance to teach him a lesson. Otherwise, I'll have to suffer in the future. Also, I can't break the military rules and teach him a lesson. He won't be able to say anything. Ting Qingshan thought for a while and came up with a plan. Chapter 99. After the 500 sergeants of the Black Armored Army finished their lunch, they rested for more than an hour before leaving City and continuing on their journey. In one breath, they traveled over 300 li and finally arrived at their destination at dusk, the Tielian Mountain outside of Huafeng City, where the gold mine was located. Tielian Mountain was a large mountain with a circumference of nearly 10 li. Of course, it was much smaller than the Great Yen Mountain. However, Tielian Mountain contained a rich gold mine, which was the biggest source of income for the Guiyuan sect. At the foot of Tielian Mountain, a mighty group of several hundred people gathered. The 2 people in the lead had similar appearances. They were welcoming the 500 Black Armored Corps soldiers from Jiangning County. Haha, shitty Shirasaki. From afar, one of the 2 people in the lead shouted in a clear voice. Shirasaki Commandant finally arrived with the 500 soldiers. Shitty Gui Tao, Shitty Gui Qing. Shirasaki also jumped off the horse and cupped his hands with a smile. Gui Tao and Gui Qing were brothers over 40 this year. They were the famous Gui clan's twin blades of the Gui Yuan sect. The younger brother, Gui Tao, was a commandant of the Black Armored Corps. He had already reached the peak of the post-liminary realm, and his strength was astonishing. The elder brother, Gui Qing, was the governor of Huafeng City, and his strength was not inferior to his younger brother. The grandfather of the two brothers was an elder of the Gui Yuan sect, and his strength was unfathomable. These two people were the mainstays of the Gui clan. Within the Gui Yuan sect, there were many disciples of the Gui clan. Ordinary people did not dare to bully the disciples of the Gui clan. Shitty Shirasaki, these warhorses can't go up the mountain. Leave them to me for the time being. Gui Qing smiled. Haha, for the next 3 months, I will need Shitty's help to take care of these horses. Shirasaki said. Of course. Gui Qing waved his hand, and many soldiers behind him immediately ran over to take the horses. More than 500 warhorses were gathered at the foot of the mountain, and some soldiers of Huafeng City helped to take care of them. Let's go up the mountain. Immediately, Ting Qingshan and the group all went up the mountain. Ting Qingshan walked together with the other 4 centurions. This Tianlian mountain is the greatest treasure of our Gui Yuan sect. Even Qing Hu Island covets this treasure mountain. However, it's useless even if they covet it. This treasure mountain is in our Jiangning County. Du Hong, the oldest of the 5 centurions, praised, "There is gold hidden in this mountain." "Gold is nothing. There's a small purple gold mine in the depths of the mine," said the tall and skinny Wan Fanxiang. "Purple gold mine?" Ting Qingshan asked, "What's that?" On the way, Ting Qingshan learned about the situation of the Tianlian gold mine, but he didn't know about the purple gold mine. Next to him, Tiandan said, "Brother Qingshan, this gold mine covers a large area. Of course, it's not easy to find gold. There's a place in the depths of the mine. There's no gold there, but there's purple gold. Purple gold. Legend has it that the heavenly sword that the celestial emperor of Qinling used to rule the world was made of purple gold. TSK, 1 tael of purple gold is equivalent to 100 taels of gold. Purple gold is very heavy. That heavenly sword must weigh over 100 jin of purple gold. That's 100,000 taels of gold. That's a priceless treasure. Even if the celestial emperor of Qinling's weapon was made of scrap iron, it's still a priceless treasure," said someone next to him. Actually, purple gold is not very suitable to be used as a weapon. Although the celestial emperor of Qinling had the heavenly sword, he used his hands as a weapon. The heavenly sword only represents his status. In terms of hardness, purple gold is worse than dark steel. However, purple gold symbolizes a respected status. Some rich merchants or the leaders of various sects also like to use purple gold. "That's very prestigious," said the tall and skinny Wan Fanxiang. Hearing this, Ting Qingshan benefited a lot. The reason why purple gold was precious was because of its prestige. Since ancient times, only Emperor Yu and the celestial emperor of Qinling unified the world. Emperor Yu built the 9 cauldrons, and the 9 cauldrons became the symbol of the 9 prefectures. Everyone worshipped them. As for the celestial emperor of Qinling, he used the rare purple gold to forge the heavenly sword to rule the world. That purple gold was extremely precious. Using purple gold would give one face. Junior Marshal Brother Shirasaki, I heard that in this centurion competition, there's a 16-year-old boy called Ting Qingshan. Oh, he should be 17 now. He defeated many people in a row. Even the proud disciple of Senior Wei Wuya, Yu Song, was defeated by him. I heard that he's in your camp? The voice coming from the front made Ting Qingshan raise his head. Shirasaki and the Gui brothers were walking together. At this moment, Shirasaki turned around and walked over with the Gui brothers. Senior Marshal Brother, you already know these 4. This newcomer is Ting Qingshan. Shirasaki pointed at Ting Qingshan and said, Qingshan, this is the Lord of Huafeng City, Lord Gui Qing, and this is Commandant Gui Tao. When the Lord of Huafeng City, Gui Qing, saw Ting Qingshan, he immediately smiled enthusiastically and said, Brother Qingshan, I've heard of your great name even in Huafeng City. Haha. You're the same age as Junior Marshal Brother Yun, but your strength is also so shocking. In my opinion, in the future, my Gui Yuan sect will have to rely on Junior Marshal Brother Yun, you, and Junior Marshal Brother Zhang Feng. Shirasaki Commandant's face immediately darkened. Brother, Junior Marshal Brother Shirasaki's strength has advanced by leaps and bounds. I heard that his 9 spears facing the morning sun is almost at the mastery stage. His strength is almost on par with Junior Marshal Brother Zhang Feng. Gui Tao Commandant said with a smile. Shirasaki Commandant then said with a smile, a few days ago, when I was watching the rising sun at Longgang, I had an epiphany of this 9 spears facing the morning sun. I've already seen through the final difficulty of this 9 spears facing the morning sun. If I spend some more time practicing, I'll be able to master it. Of course, compared to Senior Marshal Brother Zhang Feng, I'm still a bit lacking. Although he spoke modestly, there was a hint of pride on his face. After comprehending the 9 spears facing the morning sun, Shirasaki was quite proud of himself. In his opinion, even if he was compared to the number 1 of the younger generation, Commander Zhang Feng, it would be about the same. However, in order to be a bit more humble, he didn't dare to say it was too slow. Then congratulations, Junior Marshal Brother. Gui Tao and Gui Qing were both a bit surprised. That's right, Junior Marshal Brother, how should we arrange to guard the gold mine? Gui Tao said, this matter should be settled tonight. Tomorrow morning, my battalion will return to Jiangning County. Of course. Shirasaki turned around and ordered, Tiandan, you will lead 100 soldiers under your command and be in charge of the first area of the gold mine. Yes. Tiandan bowed. Du Hong, you will lead 100 soldiers under your command and be in charge of the second area in the south of the gold mine. Yes. Du Hong bowed. Lu Ha, you will lead 100 soldiers under your command and be in charge of the third area in the west of the gold mine. Yes. The short Lu Ha bowed. Wan Fanxiang, you will lead 100 soldiers under your command and be in charge of the fourth area, the last area in the gold mine. Yes. The tall and skinny Wan Fanxiang bowed. At this time, out of the 5 centurions, only Ting Qingshan hadn't received an appointment. Gui Qing, who was at the side, said in surprise, Junior Marshal Brother, you plan to let Brother Qingshan lead the troops and be in charge of the purple gold mine? This is Brother Qingshan's first time leading troops and also his first time being stationed there. He isn't familiar with it yet. I think we should change it to someone else. No need. Qingshan is quite strong. I believe he will do well. Shirasaki Commandant looked at Ting Qingshan. Qingshan, right? Ting Qingshan cupped his hands and accepted the order. The next day, Commandant Na Gui Tao led the 500 soldiers under his command and set off for Jiangning County City. As for Ting Qingshan's troops, they were stationed at Tianlian Mountain. In fact, other than the black armored corps soldiers, there were also nearly 1,000 soldiers from Huafeng City and Yi City to assist in the garrison. However, the responsibility of the purple gold mine was too great. Ordinary soldiers were not allowed to interfere. In the eyes of the Gui Yuan sect, the black armored corps was the most trustworthy. Early in the morning, Ting Qingshan was walking on Tianlian Mountain. There were many black armored corps soldiers and hard workers panning for gold. Purple gold is extremely valuable. 1 tael of purple gold is equivalent to 100 taels of gold, which is equivalent to 10,000 taels of silver. Ordinary civilians can only earn 10 to 20 taels of silver a year. One tael of purple gold is something they can't earn in their entire lives. Purple gold moves people's hearts. There are many who risk their lives for purple gold. Ting Qingshan completely understood that being stationed at the purple gold mine was an unlucky job after a day of being stationed there. It was very tiring. If you protected it well and didn't make any mistakes, that was your duty. There wouldn't be any rewards. However, if something went wrong, it would be your dereliction of duty and you would be punished. Therefore, the purple gold mine was a hot potato. Being in charge of guarding this place was a hard job. This Shirasaki seems to be targeting me. Ting Qingshan squinted his eyes and sped up towards the east. Sir! The soldiers and black armored corps soldiers at the side bowed respectfully when they saw Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan nodded his head slightly and continued to move forward. As a martial artist, he had to train hard every day. If he wanted to gain a foothold in this world, he had to rely on his own strength. Morning training had almost become a habit of the black armored corps soldiers. Of course, the centurions and commandant would also train in the morning. Haha! Old Du, although your spear is powerful, it's still lacking in speed. You still have to train hard. A complacent laughter could be heard coming from the east. When Ting Qingshan heard it, he could tell that it was the voice of Lieutenant Bai Qi. When he got closer, Ting Qingshan saw, in the distance, the other 4 centurions and Shirasaki commandant were all there. Du Hong was lying on the ground. He was supporting himself with his spear and seemed to have injured his leg. Spar! Ting Qingshan laughed. In the black armored corps, the centurions, commandant, and commanders were all first-rated warriors. In order to increase their strength, the black armored corps allowed the centurions, commandant, and commanders to spar with each other. Of course, there was one condition: they were not allowed to kill. Qingshan, we're already training in the morning. Why are you only here now? Tian Dan shouted from afar. Among the 5 commanders, he had the best relationship with Ting Qingshan. I practiced my spear art for a while. Ting Qingshan held his reincarnation spear and walked over. He smiled at Shirasaki Commandant and said, Shirasaki Commandant's spear art is indeed powerful. Even old Du is no match for you. I heard that Lord Commandant has mastered the 9 spears of the morning sun. I wonder if you dare to spar with me? Ting Qingshan's voice was loud and clear. Many of the black armored corps sergeants, ordinary soldiers, and some laborers heard it. Dare or not? Dare and willing were 2 different meanings. Ting Qingshan's question was too provocative. If Shirasaki Commandant did not agree, it meant that he did not dare to spar with Ting Qingshan. If a warrior did not have courage, he would be laughed at in the black armored corps. Brother Qingshan is really ruthless. Tian Dan and the other 3 centurions snickered. Many of the black armored corps sergeants' eyes lit up when they saw this scene. Shirasaki Commandant, did he dare or not? Shirasaki Commandant's face turned red. He laughed and said, Ting Qingshan, you defeated many people in the centurion competition at such a young age. It's normal for you to be arrogant. But today, as Commandant, I will let you know that there is always someone better. Chapter 100. Then, Sir Commandant, please show me what you've got. Ting Qingshan cupped his hands and said. Shirasaki Commandant sneered. Ting Qingshan, you've lived in the mountains since you were young. I'm afraid the number of powerful spear techniques you've seen can be counted on one hand. Today, I'll show you the power of this superior spear technique. Shirasaki Commandant laughed maniacally, then walked to an open space not far away. I'm looking forward to it. Ting Qingshan smiled and walked to the open space, holding his spear with one hand, waiting for the battle. At this time, many of the black armored corps sergeants approached. Qingshan and Shirasaki Commandant's duel? Ting Qinghu ran over. His eyes lit up as he looked over. It's true. This Shirasaki and Qingshan, hee hee. Qinghu, you're here. Do you think Sir Qingshan can win? Yes, don't worry. Qingshan will definitely win. Just watch. The sergeants discussed softly among themselves. There were over 100 people scattered around. Being stationed in the mountains was very boring. The duel between Shirasaki Commandant and Ting Qingshan attracted everyone's attention. This Ting Qingshan actually dared to provoke me today. This brat just came to the Black Armored Corps and he already seduced junior sister Qing. He really thinks he's a genius. Amazing. I must teach him a lesson today. At the very least, I'll make him lie in bed for a month or two. I'll let him know how powerful I am. Shirasaki Commandant's chest was burning with anger, but he didn't dare to take the opportunity to kill Ting Qingshan. This was because the Black Armored Corps had a rule that forbade killing during a duel. Ting Qingshan, are you ready? Shirasaki Commandant was dressed in black and held a black spear in his hand. He was full of arrogance. Lord Commandant, feel free to make your move. Let me see how amazing Lord Commandant's means are. Ting Qingshan, who was also dressed in black, said with a smile while holding a spear. The sarcasm in her words made Shirasaki Commandant even angrier. With a cold snort, Shirasaki Commandant stomped on the ground with his right foot, and his entire body darted several feet away like an arrow. He thrust the spear in his hand forward like a venomous snake sticking out its tongue, and thrust it straight towards Ting Qingshan's chest with an ear-piercing sound of air explosion. Faced with this move, Ting Qingshan smiled. Who? Ting Qingshan held the spear in his right hand and carried it behind his back. With a tap of his feet, he dodged to the side and easily dodged the spear. Attack! Shirasaki Commandant shouted angrily. At the same time, he swept the spear in his hand. Ting Qingshan quickly leaped and then stepped on the shaft of Shirasaki's spear with his right foot. He leaped up and laughed at the same time. Lord Commandant, your subordinate strength is average, but I can't be hurt by such superficial spear techniques. You'd better show me some powerful spear technique. Shirasaki was furious. He took 3 consecutive steps and crossed a distance of nearly 10 feet. Puff! In the blink of an eye, the spear pierced a distance of 10 feet. The sound of air explosion was like rolling thunder, and even some of the surrounding dead branches and leaves flew up. Watch this move of mine. Ting Qingshan smiled. He finally made his move. Who? In an instant, the spear transformed into thousands of phantoms. Clang! 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 After a few consecutive clashing sounds, Shirasaki Commandant's spear was deflected to the side. Facing the incoming spear phantoms, Shirasaki Commandant was so scared that he fell to the ground. At the same time, he used his left hand to support himself and flew backward. Poochie! One of the spear phantoms hit Shirasaki's chest. However, Shirasaki still used his left hand to support himself and used the force to escape far away. That spearhead phantom is like a flame. Such a fast spear. The people who watched this scene were amazed. Facing Shirasaki Commandant's attack, Ting Qingshan didn't even use his spear at the beginning. He only dodged. But when he used his spear, the first move put Shirasaki Commandant at a disadvantage. Shirasaki slammed a tree beside him and used the force to stand up. The chest area of his black clothes was already torn, revealing the white underwear inside. Shirasaki was in a sorry state. He stared fiercely at Ting Qingshan in the distance. Such a fast spear. I didn't expect Ting Qingshan to have such a wonderful spear art. That move was the first move Ting Qingshan had concluded from studying the Ardent Flame spear art, Silver Flower of the Flaming Tree. Qingshan is really powerful. That spear art just now is completely different from the simple and profound spear art he used when he was competing for the Centurion position. I think Shirasaki Commandant is going to suffer a huge setback today. Shirasaki is usually arrogant. We are not his match, but Qingshan can help us teach him a lesson. He can let him know that centurions like us are not that easy to bully. The group of people watching the battle were discussing in low voices. Seeing the usually arrogant Shirasaki in such a sorry state, they were all very excited and happy. Shirasaki glanced at the surrounding soldiers watching the battle. Those soldiers would occasionally look at him and discuss in low voices at the same time. Shirasaki's face couldn't help but turn red. He was a person who cared a lot about his reputation. I have to be careful today. Otherwise, I might really fail miserably. Shirasaki's gaze turned cold. Ting Qingshan looked at Shirasaki and laughed coldly in his heart. Just now, he had the chance to seriously injure and defeat Shirasaki. However, making Shirasaki lose so easily wouldn't achieve the effect he wanted. This time, I must let Shirasaki know pain and no fear. In the future, he won't dare to provoke me again. At the same time, Ting Qingshan laughed loudly and said, Lord Commandant, where's your powerful spear art? You can't hide it in front of your subordinate. Didn't you want to see my 9 spears facing the sun? Shirasaki took a deep breath and restrained his aura. With a light tap of his feet, he silently and swiftly approached Ting Qingshan. Just when he was 3 zhang away from Ting Qingshan, boom! Shirasaki's eyes were wide open and his expression was ferocious like a madman. The spear in his hand instantly turned from gentle to violent. With a sound of air explosion, the surrounding dead branches and leaves flew everywhere. The spear was like a black flood dragon, roaring and trying to swallow Ting Qingshan. That violent madness naturally gave rise to the thought of avoiding its edge in people's hearts. Oh! Ting Qingshan's eyes lit up. This 9 spears facing the sun is really extraordinary. At the same time, Ting Qingshan used the spear art pursuing shadow. Xiao! The spear shadow was like an arrow, simple and sharp. Clang! With a light collision, Shirasaki felt the spear in his hand fall into an invisible whirlpool, and the spear couldn't help but move to the side. Shirasaki's expression changed and he roared angrily, "Dispel the clouds and see the sun." The long spear in his hand instantly became gentle and soft as the clouds and mist. While it was piercing towards Ting Qingshan, the speed of the long spear suddenly increased. In that instant, the aura of the long spear exploded. It was even more terrifying than the previous spear. Dispel the clouds and see the sun was the peak of the 9 spears facing the sun. The concept of yin and yang was fused into this spear. However, Shirasaki's most powerful move, dispel the clouds and see the sun, could only be considered as a small success. Ha ha! Ting Qingshan let out a laugh and similarly thrust forward in a simple manner. But compared to the previous stab, the speed was much faster, and the whistling sound in the air was even sharper and more ear-piercing. 50,000 jin of strength. Ting Qingshan's eyes were cold and fierce. At this point, he wanted to make his opponent suffer a crushing defeat, so he directly exploded with 50,000 jin of strength. Previously, when he used the pursuing shadow spear art with 10,000 jin of strength, he was already on par with Yu Song. Now that he used 50,000 jin of strength, how could Shirasaki block it? Pooh! The long spear contained a slight spiral force, and it forcefully deflected Shirasaki's sharp spear to the side. The long spear that was deflected to the side hit the ground, emitting a deep sound of impact. Immediately, the ground cracked, and a large amount of crushed stones flew everywhere. The surrounding soldiers who were watching the fight hurriedly dodging these flying stones. Impossible! Shirasaki's expression changed greatly. Let go! Ting Qingshan roared, and the reincarnation spear shook, hitting the spear shaft near Shirasaki's hand. Shirasaki only felt a sharp pain in his right hand, and his muscles reflexively loosened, sending the long spear flying. The long spear shaft in Ting Qingshan's hand, using the rebounding force, directly hit Shirasaki's chest. Bang! Shirasaki's eyes instantly widened, and his entire body was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood and then fell to the ground. His body was stained with moist soil, withered leaves, and he looked extremely battered. How is this possible? How is this possible? Shirasaki fell to the ground, and blood seeped out of his right hand. However, he was completely shocked by Ting Qingshan's spear. The ultimate move that he was most proud of, dispelling the clouds to see the sun, was actually easily countered by Ting Qingshan, and even shook off his weapon. That long spear was stabbed into the ground far away. Lord Qingshan, good spear art. I didn't see it clearly just now, but Lord Commandant's long spear flew up. Lord Qingshan is so powerful. The surrounding soldiers were discussing spiritedly. Ting Qingshan erupted with 50,000 jin of strength, and instantly executed the pursuing shadow spear art. His speed was extremely fast. In the eyes of the surrounding soldiers, they only saw the shadow of the spear in Ting Qingshan's hand flash, and the long spear in Shirasaki's hand was sent flying. At the same time, Shirasaki's entire body was sent flying. They were on completely different levels. Lord Commandant, is this your 9 spears in the morning sun? Ting Qingshan walked to Shirasaki's side. Shirasaki's body trembled, and he looked at Ting Qingshan in front of him. You. Shirasaki wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and grabbed the tree beside him to stand up. Ting Qingshan suddenly approached again, and Shirasaki was so shocked that he took a step back and shouted, "What do you want?" At this moment, Shirasaki was really afraid of Ting Qingshan. Nothing. Ting Qingshan approached Shirasaki and said in a low voice, "Shirasaki Commandant, you are a commandant, and I am a centurion. But don't go too far. In the future, we will have a long time in the Black Armored Corps. If you go too far, be careful that your subordinate can't hold back his anger and do some bloody things, right?" Ting Qingshan's gaze instantly became as sharp as a knife, and he stared at Shirasaki from a close distance. Shirasaki shuddered. He could feel the murderous intent in Ting Qingshan's words. This Ting Qingshan. Yes, although he looks old, he is still only 17 years old. If I force him into a rage out of humiliation, he might secretly kill me in a fit of rage. In the world of warriors, the strong were always respected, although military discipline was very important. But if Ting Qingshan secretly made a move and no one saw it, who would redress Shirasaki's grievances? Previously, Shirasaki was not afraid because Shirasaki thought that he was stronger than Ting Qingshan, but this time, he finally realized the gap between the two of them. "Lord Commandant, are you okay?" Ting Qingshan's voice suddenly became louder. Shirasaki's expression changed slightly, and he reacted, "I'm fine, it's just a small injury." As he said this, he immediately walked towards the spear that had fallen to the ground. Chapter 101. The soldiers of the Black Armored Corps discussed among themselves as they looked at Ting Qingshan in a different light. The strong would be respected and worshipped. Shirasaki Commandant's last spear attack was very powerful, but I didn't expect Brother Qingshan to be able to break it so easily. He even sent the weapon in Shirasaki Commandant's hand flying. The tall and skinny centurion Wan Fanxiang exclaimed. "Qingshan is probably one of the top 3 in the younger generation," Centurion Tian Dan said. At this moment, Ting Qingshan walked over with his reincarnation spear. "Brother Qingshan, your last spear attack was much stronger than when you were fighting for the position of centurion. It seems like you were hiding your strength when you were fighting for the position of centurion." Tian Dan smiled as he welcomed him. Ting Qingshan smiled and said, "Brother Tian Dan, I didn't practice the vigor of the reckless bull at that time, so my strength was slightly weaker. I have to say, this vigor of the reckless bull is much stronger than the secret manuals I practiced in the past." "You practiced the vigor of the reckless bull?" The other 4 centurions were a little shocked. To become a first-rated warrior, one's inner strength must be strong, so he must have his own secret manual. In the eyes of Tian Dan, Wan Fanxiang and the other centurions, Ting Qingshan should have his own secret manual of inner strength. Of course it's because of it. Otherwise, how could I improve so much? Ting Qingshan said. Then what level are you at? It's so powerful? Tian Dan asked. The 8th level, Ting Qingshan said. The 4 centurions looked at each other, dumbfounded. The vigor of the reckless bull was powerful, but it was very difficult to practice. To practice it to the 8th level, the 8 extraordinary meridians were almost all opened. No wonder. Qingshan must have eaten some kind of treasure. The 4 centurions completely understood why Ting Qingshan had become so strong. When Ting Qingshan saw this, he nodded to himself. I can't hide my strength completely in the black armored core. I have to show some of it to be put in an important position. The 8th layer of the vigor of the reckless bull should be able to attract the attention of all the Hotian masters. This was also the reason why Ting Qingshan had used 50,000 pounds of strength a moment ago. At the 8th level of the vigor of the reckless bull, his inner strength could burst out in an instant, which was close to 50,000 pounds of strength. With this level of strength, Ting Qingshan was confident that he could fight against any post-liminary realm master. As for his true strength, Ting Qingshan would only erupt when he was in danger. The news of the fight between Ting Qingshan and Shirasaki Commandant a few days ago quickly spread throughout the mining area. The soldiers of the Black Armored Corps and the soldiers who assisted the garrison looked at Ting Qingshan in a different light. Each and every one of them respected and admired Ting Qingshan. Especially the soldiers of E-City, they were even more proud of him. Ting Qingshan was from E-City. Of course the soldiers of E-City were proud. Night. It was pitch black. There were no stars and no moon. Torches were immediately lit everywhere in the mining area. The soldiers on night duty were also patrolling the area. A young man was lying in the weeds, looking at the patrolling soldiers in front of him. Aren't these soldiers tired? Go to the side and take a nap. This man was very anxious. Entering the mining area to be a laborer, what was the small salary? Panning for gold every day and looking at the pieces of gold, of course they were tempted. The gold that was panned every day was gathered in the hands of the squad leader and then handed over to the warehouse. He was the squad leader. Every day, he would secretly hide a little bit of gold. Every time he hid 2 or 3 coins of gold, the people of the Black Armored Corps wouldn't be able to find out. After saving for 2 months, he had accumulated 1 gene and 2 taels of gold. 12 taels of gold was equivalent to 1,200 taels of silver. A commoner could earn 20 taels of silver in a year, which was considered good. This 1,200 taels of silver meant that he would have to work for a lifetime. Clenching his teeth, this man had prepared for more than 2 months. Tonight, he was going to escape with the gold. Damn it, whether it's death or riches, it all depends on today. He noticed that the patrolling soldiers had turned around and were walking towards the west. This is the moment. He clenched his teeth. Whoosh! Exerting all his strength, this man suddenly dashed past the first patrol line and immediately lay down in a slightly sunken shallow pit. In fact, if the patrolling soldiers were to observe carefully, they would still be able to see him. However, it was now late at night. The patrolling soldiers were also fighting with their eyes closed and were very tired. If there was no big movement, they wouldn't notice. Taking 2 deep breaths, this man didn't dare to make any loud noises. He stared at the tree in the distance. My luck is really good. I ran past the first line without being discovered. The man was secretly delighted. To the hard laborers, this patrol line was known as the line of life. I don't think I'll be so lucky next. I'll charge out in one go. Right now, it's so dark that I can't even see my fingers. As long as I run to a place without torches, I'll have a chance of escaping. The man took 2 deep breaths and gathered his strength. His whole body exploded like a vigorous leopard as he madly rushed down the mountain. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment of life and death, this man ran at an unprecedented speed. He could only hear the howling of the wind in his ears. Suddenly, "Gold thief! Catch him!" A loud shout rang out. "Found him!" The man felt his heart twitch violently. His head was burning. At this moment of life and death, his running speed actually increased a little. Before the surrounding soldiers could surround him, the man had already dashed into a pitch-black area at the foot of the mountain. Chase! Chase him! A bunch of good-for-nothings! So many people couldn't stop that gold thief! A black-bearded brawny man angrily roared. "Catch him! Don't let him get away!" A large number of soldiers rushed down the mountain with torches in hand. At this moment, a black-clothed Ting Qingshan walked over. At night, Ting Qingshan usually didn't sleep. Instead, he meditated and nourished his body. As soon as there was movement, he immediately felt it. "Sir." The black-bearded brawny man bowed and said. "Hu Tong, what's going on?" Ting Qingshan inquired. During these days in the mining area, Ting Qingshan had gotten to know quite a few people. This Hu Tong was the captain of Huafeng City's city guards. In Huafeng City, he could be considered a big shot. However, in front of the black armored corps, Hu Tong was much more obedient. Hu Tong helplessly said, "Gold thief! There's nothing we can do. Gold moves people's hearts. Although many gold thieves were caught and killed, there are still people who steal." "How many gold thieves are there in this mining area?" Ting Qingshan asked. "There are about 2,000 to 3,000 hard workers in the mining area. Every year, hundreds of people steal gold and escape. However, less than 10 can truly escape." Hu Tong sighed. However, in this chaotic world, some people aren't afraid of death. They don't care about their lives just to gather a gene of gold. If they can escape, then they can go back and marry a good wife and live a comfortable life. Failure to escape meant death. Success meant wealth and honor. Ting Qingshan inwardly shook his head. They're really gambling with their lives. He then walked towards his residence. "How is it? Did you catch him?" Hu Tong shouted. "Sir, we almost caught him. I even gave him a stab. However, that kid ran too fast. It was pitch black outside. That kid finally ran away and we couldn't find him anymore." Those guards walked back in disappointment. Hu Tong immediately cursed, "A bunch of good-for-nothings. Since the beginning of spring, I didn't expect that the first one to escape would appear in just over a month." Life in the mining area was like this. Every day, the hard workers dug, crushed the ore, and painstakingly sifted the gold. The guards and black armored corps sergeants patrolled and supervised. Ting Qingshan and the others practiced their spear technique. The other 4 centurions were fine, but Ting Qingshan worked the hardest. He was in charge of the purple gold mining area. He had the biggest responsibility, so he didn't dare to be careless every day. Gold was already enough to make people crazy, not to mention purple gold. In less than a month, Ting Qingshan discovered 2 people trying to steal the purple gold and escape. However, they didn't manage to escape alive. The purple gold mining area was under the strictest security. The difficulty of escaping was much harder than other mining areas. For the Guiyuan sect, losing a few gene of gold every year was nothing. However, the loss of purple gold was heart-wrenching. Early in the morning, the captain Hu Tong saw Ting Qingshan practicing his spear, so he walked over and said enthusiastically, "Sir, I'll go back to Huafeng City in a while. I'll come back tomorrow. What does Sir want? I'll bring it over." From Hu Tong's point of view, Ting Qingshan was young and strong. His future was boundless. If he fawned on him now, there would only be benefits. Ting Qingshan smiled and looked at him. "Help me bring some Yanghe wine." Ting Qingshan liked to drink, but Ting Qinghu liked it even more. "All right." Hu Tong laughed so hard that his beard trembled. Huafeng City, at night, Hu Tong's residence. Brother Dong, you really put me on the fire to roast. If this matter is exposed, I'll have to bear a great responsibility. Hu Tong put down his wine cup and looked at the man opposite him. The man sitting in front of Hu Tong was only 7 feet tall. He was considered short, but his eyes could be said to be clever. It was this seemingly clever and crafty young guy, but Hu Tong knew how ruthless the other party's methods were. A young man in his early 20s, in Huafeng City, who knew how many ruthless people had fallen in his hands. Even if he was the captain of the city guards, Hu Tong, when he thought of the other party's deeds, felt a faint chill in his heart. Brother Hu, this is 5,000 taels of silver. After the matter is done, this brother will reward you handsomely. The young man touched his nose and said with a smile, What needs to be done, I've already told you, Brother Hu. You should know this matter, you won't be in any danger. When the time comes, even if something happens, if I don't expose you, who will know it's your problem? Even if I expose you, you can say that I have a grudge against you and deliberately bit you. You absolutely won't be in danger. Don't worry, Brother Hu. Don't you know how I, Dong Yen, do things? This Dong Yen said. Looking at the 5,000 taels of silver, Hu Tong's eyes slightly narrowed. Then he reached out and took the silver, putting it in his arms. All right, Brother Dong, looking at our past friendship, I'll help you this time. But, when will your man go down the mountain? March 28. That brother of yours, I brought him to you last time as well. You know him. There shouldn't be any problems. Dong Yen said. March 28th? Don't worry, even if I don't sleep that day, I'll still get things done for you. Hu Tong said with a faint smile, however, I can only help my part. As for the rest, I won't care. Brother, your part is the most important. Come, let's drink. Dong Yen smiled and raised his cup, his eyes flashing with an inexplicable light. Chapter 102. In the blink of an eye, Ting Qingshan and the others had been in the Tianlian mountain mining area for more than a month. In the evening, the sky was dark. Torches were lit everywhere in the mining area, and bonfires were burning in some places. A large number of soldiers and black armored corps soldiers were patrolling seriously. Ting Qingshan was also in the purple crystal mining area, outside a spacious stone house. This stone house was Ting Qingshan's residence in the Tianlian mountain. Chi. The bonfire was very strong. Ting Qingshan held the reincarnation spear and was immersed in spear arts by the bonfire. That desperate situation and then rebirth. That state of hope in despair. Ting Qingshan was pondering. In the past month, Ting Qingshan had disassembled and combined the 81 moves of the Ardent Flame spear art into 5 concepts. Now, he had created 4 spear arts. The first move, Silver Flower of the Flaming Tree. This move was very dreamy, beautiful, and could easily confuse the enemy. The second move, Pouring Oil on Fire. Ting Qingshan's name was tacky, but it was simple and easy to understand. It clearly reflected the power of this move. Once the spear art was executed, the power instantly exploded, like pouring oil on fire. The third move, Flashing Chestnuts from Fire. This move was very insidious. It was extremely fast and silent. The fourth move, Prairie Fire. This move was a group attack. It consumed a lot of energy, but it was also very powerful. Now, only the fifth move was left. The concept of the fifth move was similar to the realm of melancholy, but it was slightly different. Wrong. Ting Qingshan shook his head slightly. In order to create the Silver Flower of the Flaming Tree, he only spent 3 days. But as time went on, Ting Qingshan spent more time. To be honest, the power of these moves was shocking. However, it was not as powerful as the Pursuing Shadow, Transmutation Unity Law, and Toxic Dragon Drill. After all, Ting Qingshan had immersed himself in the 5 elemental fist arts for a long time in his previous life. In this life, he had spent more than 10 years to create these 3 moves. It looked simple, but it had already returned to its original state, and its might was astonishing. However, Ting Qingshan had never been able to create a spear technique derived from the cannon fist of the five-element boxing. Ting Qingshan had a feeling that when he disassembled and combined the ardent flame spear art, his understanding of the fire attribute was also increasing. His mind was also becoming clearer about the spear technique derived from the cannon fist. In his previous life, Tiger Cannon Fist was Ting Qingshan's ultimate move. The spear art that was derived from this should be even more powerful than Toxic Dragon Drill. However, rice had to be eaten bite by bite. First, he had to create the fifth move of the Ardent Flame Spear technique. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to evolve the difficult Cannon Fist. The realm of melancholy and the realm of life and death are fundamentally different. That realm. As Ting Qingshan was pondering, suddenly, Ting Qingshan couldn't help but turn his head to look. He saw that the bonfire at the side was much dimmer than before. Some of the wood that had been burning for a long time had red sparks on it, sometimes brightening and sometimes dimming. Ting Qingshan casually grabbed 2 dry pieces of wood from the side and threw them over. Immediately, the red sparks on the surface of the wood that had been burning for a long time burst into flames. The moment the red sparks burst into flames, a light flashed in Ting Qingshan's mind and his eyes immediately lit up. Yes. Ting Qingshan hastily grabbed the reincarnation spear beside him and closed his eyes. At the same time, his right hand grabbed the spear shaft and his left hand grabbed the body of the spear. He first pulled back the spear shaft and then suddenly pushed it forward. The inner strength in Ting Qingshan's body poured into the reincarnation spear. The spearhead of the reincarnation spear pierced forward rapidly. When the spear pierced to its limit, the spearhead slightly shook. Phew! Phew! A visible whirlpool of energy actually appeared on the spearhead. Yes, this is the feeling. Ting Qingshan was wild with joy. Immediately, he turned around and pierced the trunk of a large tree beside him with his spear. Bang! As soon as the spearhead pierced into the tree trunk, it produced an explosive sound. A frightening hole appeared in the trunk, which required 2 people to encircle it. Broken pieces of wood flew everywhere, and the tree began to tremble, as if it would collapse at any moment. The surrounding soldiers of the Black Armored Corps jumped in fright. Each and every one of them hastily took precautions. Everyone, be careful. Don't get smashed by the tree. Ting Qingshan laughed loudly and immediately gave a flying kick. Immediately, the large tree fell in front of Ting Qingshan with a loud bang. The soldiers of the Black Armored Corps, who were already prepared, moved to the side. Sir, you have great spear skills. You managed to topple such a thick tree. Our sir's spear skills are top-notch. One by one, the soldiers praised Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan was very happy in his heart. He thought to himself, my flying knife, mournful knife, can only be used to control the explosion of a flying knife from a long distance. However, this inner strength, combined with my control of strength and the guidance of my consciousness, actually produced a whirlpool of inner strength. The explosive power of this spear is really not small. This move shall be called Legacy of the Ultimate Flame. Ting Qingshan was very satisfied with this move. Among the 5 moves of the Ardent Flame Spear technique, this Legacy of the Ultimate Flame was the most powerful move. Unfortunately, this move can only achieve this effect by relying on inner strength. It is impossible to achieve this with just physical strength. However, with my inner strength, the power of this move is already very good. Ting Qingshan's mind became clearer about the future spear techniques that the Blast Fist could evolve into. After spending more than a month, he finally created these 5 moves. At this moment, Ting Qingshan was in a very good mood. He immediately held his reincarnation spear and started patrolling the amethyst mining area. Sir! Sir! The black armored corps sergeants who were patrolling and supervising immediately saluted when they saw Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan smiled and nodded. He glanced at the mine and saw that people were starting to come out. Is today's mining over? Yes, sir. The hard laborers in the mine have come out one by one. The black armored corps sergeants said respectfully. However, Ting Qingshan smiled and walked towards the mine. The surroundings of the mining area were all sunken and there was an extremely deep mine. Ting Qingshan walked towards the mine. At this moment, there were already hard laborers walking out one by one. When they saw Ting Qingshan, they hastily bowed and saluted. These hard laborers' faces, hair, and bodies were covered in dust and dirty. Ergo, how much purple gold did you dig today? Look, it's so much bigger than my fingernails. This is the most I've dug in a day this month. But we still have to hand it over. No matter how much we dig, it won't be ours. Look at me. The purple gold dug by 8 people only adds up to this much. Ting Qingshan glanced at the man who was speaking. There were some purple gold particles in the man's palm. Ting Qingshan frowned and said, "How did you get all the purple gold from 8 people?" "Sir." When the man saw Ting Qingshan, he hastily saluted in fear. He then said, "My brothers asked me to pass these funds to the black armored corps sergeant. This way, it would be more convenient for the sergeant." "What's your name?" Ting Qingshan asked. The man was slightly frightened. I'm Wu Dagon." Ting Qingshan nodded. He looked into the mine, then turned around and walked out of the mine. Not far from the mine, there were 2 black armored corps sergeants sitting in front of a table. They were collecting the purple gold mined by every miner and recording it. Ting Qingshan nodded to himself. According to the Guiyuan sect's rules, the purple crystal mine's hard laborers are not allowed to interact with the miners from other mines. Moreover, they even check their residences from time to time. When they leave, they have to strip off their clothes, shave their hair, give them a new set of clothes, and let them walk away naked. This is indeed to prevent people from stealing purple gold. The rules of the purple gold mine were much stricter than the other 4 mines. Trying to steal purple gold without anyone noticing was as difficult as ascending to heaven. "Brother Dagon, what did the black armored corps sergeant say to you?" some of the hard laborers asked Wu Dagon. "Nothing much," Wu Dagon said casually. He glanced at Ting Qingshan, who had walked far away, and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. The day after tomorrow is March 28. At this crucial moment, I'd better be careful and not provoke the black armored corps. Otherwise, it would be terrible if Big Brother's plan was ruined. Wu Dagon then returned to his residence. Soon, it was the 28th of March. According to the rules of the Tailian mountain mine, the hard laborers of the 4 gold mines could go back to visit their families on the 28th of every month. There was only 1 day in a month. As for the purple gold mine, they could only leave the mine once a year. On this day, early in the morning, a light mist permeated the air, making it very refreshing. The hard laborers were in a good mood today. "Working here day and night, I'm so tired. I can't even sleep comfortably. Finally, I can go back. Haha, do you miss your wife? Hee, sleeping on this cold wooden bed is not comparable to sleeping at home with a wife." A group of hard laborers were chatting with each other. One by one, they were lined up to undergo a body search before they could leave the mine. "All of you, don't be foolish. Once you discover gold, even if it's just a little bit of gold, you will be executed." One of the guards shouted loudly, "Before the body search, you should first check yourselves. Don't be framed by others. If we find out, whatever you say will be useless." A group of guards blocked the road and examined the group of hard laborers. There were specialized guards who were conducting the body search. According to the rules, the body search of the hard laborers in the gold mines was generally done by the ordinary guards. The body search of the purple gold mines hard laborers was done by the black armored corps sergeant. At this time, the black-bearded brawny man walked over in large strides. "Sir." The guards immediately saluted. The person who came was the captain of Huafeng City's city guard. It could be said that his status was second only to the city lord. Naturally, these guards were very respectful. Hu Tong's gaze swept across the laborers in the queue, and he immediately shouted to the soldiers, "Brothers, be more serious and carefully search everyone for me. Don't leave anyone out." "Don't worry, sir, they won't be able to take away even a little bit of gold," a guard immediately said in a flattering tone. Hu Tong nodded. Hu Tong's gaze swept over the area again, and he suddenly caught a glimpse of a middle-aged man wearing a simple and patched robe walking over from a distance of several dozen feet. Hu Tong's eyes immediately lit up. Chapter 103. The middle-aged man and Captain Hu Tong looked at each other from afar, and then casually chatted with the laborers beside them as they queued up. "Phew!" Hu Tong tried his best to remain calm, and then casually looked to the side. Who would have thought that the Black Armored Corps' Shirasaki commandant would walk over with a cold face? I rarely see this Shirasaki, but he actually popped up today. Hu Tong was very angry, but a smile appeared on his face. He quickly went up to greet him. "Sir, you're not doing morning exercises this morning? Today is the 28th. I know that many laborers are going back to visit their families. Of course, I have to take a look. Hu Tong, watch your men and let them search carefully," Shirasaki commandant coldly ordered. Hu Tong bowed and smiled. "Yes, sir. My brothers have done this many times. Don't worry, there won't be any problems." "Okay." Shirasaki commandant humphed. Soon after, Lieutenant Bai Chi stood at the side and scrutinized the group of hard laborers who were lined up and being searched one by one. The hard laborers would occasionally glance upwards, but they were so scared that they didn't dare to raise their heads to look at Lieutenant Bai Chi. These laborers also knew that Shirasaki commandant was a big shot. "Search carefully," Hu Tong shouted from the side. Shirasaki commandant casually looked around, occasionally glancing at the miners. "Gold is heavier. If you smuggle a lot of it, you will lose your life. If you put a lot of it in your clothes, the clothes will not be neat. The place where you put the gold will drop." Shirasaki was very clear about this. It was like putting a piece of iron in the pocket of a shirt, the pocket would drop. The clothes on the people would not be neat. Shirasaki glanced at them. At first glance, he did not see anything special. Shirasaki's heart moved. He glanced at the footprints left by a middle-aged man in the queue. There was a lot of dust in this mining area. Some places had gravel, and some places were full of dust and mud. Footprints would be left when one stepped on it. Of course, there were a lot of people in the queue, so the footprints were messy. But what was Shirasaki's expression? He immediately noticed the 2 footprints left behind by the middle-aged man. Although the 2 footprints were immediately destroyed by the laborer behind him, the 2 footprints were still visible to the naked eye. But Shirasaki remembered it clearly. 1 foot deeper, the other shallower. Shirasaki was shocked. Carefully observing the middle-aged man, he said, his clothes are neat and tidy. From the looks of it, he doesn't seem to be carrying anything. However, his 2 legs were not one long and one short, but 2 very normal legs. There was only one possibility for this step to be slightly deeper than the other. One of its legs should be tied with something heavy like a piece of iron. Although Shirasaki was a little narrow-minded, it was undeniable that he was capable of becoming the commandant. Since he could understand 9 spears in the morning sun, he was very smart. He immediately noticed the problem from the 2 footprints that were slightly different from each other. Shirasaki commandant immediately stopped looking at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man had a guilty conscience. Shirasaki stared at him for a while from afar, causing the middle-aged man to feel nervous. Could it be that the Lord of the Black Armored Corps found out? Impossible. He definitely couldn't tell from his appearance. Phew. He finally stopped staring at me. I reckon that the Lord of the Black Armored Corps was distracted just now. No matter what, the middle-aged man had no way out. If he succeeded this time, he would be rich for the rest of his life. Lord! Lord! The surrounding people greeted respectfully. Shirasaki turned to look. He saw Ting Qingshan walking along the mountain path with his reincarnation spear in hand. When he saw Shirasaki, he cupped his hands and said, "Lord Commandant is here too?" Qingshan. Where are you going?" Shirasaki smiled. "I am going to find Brother Tiandan for a gathering," Ting Qingshan said. "Then why aren't you going? These soldiers will be in charge of the body search." Shirasaki Commandant smiled and said. Ting Qingshan looked at him and left with a smile. Ever since the challenge, Shirasaki Commandant's attitude towards Ting Qingshan had changed. He didn't even dare to treat Ting Qingshan coldly anymore. However, Ting Qingshan didn't feel very happy. Shirasaki's forbearance made Ting Qingshan more vigilant. Seeing Ting Qingshan walk over, Shirasaki turned to look at Hu Tong and said, "Hu Tong, speed up the body search." "Yes, Lord." Hu Tong was secretly happy. Originally, he was going to ask one of the people to move away while he did the body search himself so that he could let that person go. But now, Shirasaki's words made things easier for him. "So slow. How long will it take for 2 people to search? Now, 3 people in a batch. The 2 of you continue, I will search myself. The 2 of you learn from me." Hu Tong strode over and at the same time waved to the people in the queue, "The few of you come to my side." Immediately, the 2 teams that were originally lined up side by side immediately split into 3 teams. "Take off your coats and do it yourselves." Hu Tong was still shouting. One by one, the hard workers took off their coat. Hu Tong quickly touched their coats to see if there was anything hard between the coat. Then, he searched their underwear. Then, he carefully touched their pants to see if there was any gold between the pant. After that, he asked the hard workers to untie their belts and pull them down to their knees. He checked if there was any gold hidden in their private parts. Finally, he checked their shoes and hair. Hu Tong was indeed fast when he searched. "Next!" Hu Tong shouted. In a row, Hu Tong checked 3 people. These 3 people also did not smuggle gold. "Next!" Hu Tong shouted. Immediately, the middle-aged man came to the front of the alley. His coat had long been taken off. There was only a tattered undershirt inside. It was obvious that he did not hide anything. Hu Tong carefully searched according to the procedure. Coat, pants, shoes, hair, insides, etc. He searched them all, but there was nothing. "Next!" Hu Tong said. The middle-aged man immediately put on his clothes and shoes and walked down the mountain path. "Humph!" Shirasaki Commandant glanced at the middle-aged man and secretly sneered. It seems that Hu Tong has been bribed. He actually wants to bribe Hu Tong to smuggle gold? Impossible. Even if he smuggled 10 jin of gold, it is only worth 10,000 taels of silver. It is not worth bribing a city guard captain. Then, did he smuggle purple gold? Shirasaki Commandant was puzzled. How did he smuggle purple gold? The laborers in the purple gold mine and gold mine cannot be found at all. Could it be that I guessed wrong? That middle-aged man did not smuggle gold? At this moment, did you see that? Just do what I did. Hurry up. You search. Hu Tong walked to the side and ordered a soldier to search for him. Shirasaki glanced and thought, From start to finish, Hu Tong had searched a total of 4 people, and the 4th person was the middle-aged man. When he was halfway through the search, he stopped to rest. Humph, it seems that he was really bribed. Immediately, Shirasaki walked down the mountain. Sir. Hu Tong smiled and walked over. I am going down the mountain for a walk. Why are you following me? Shirasaki shouted. Hu Tong was stunned and retreated. Only then did Bai Qi take large strides, as if he was taking a stroll down the mountain. Bai Qi was an inner strength expert. How could he lose track of a farmer? If I guessed correctly, this man must have stolen a lot of money. There is at least a 50% chance that he smuggled purple gold. Shirasaki was tempted. According to the rules of the Guiyuan sect, the purple gold excavated every day was recorded. Even if he was the commandant, he could not fill his own pockets. Humans are greedy. Even in Ting Qingshan's previous world, some high-ranking officials were greedy for money. From this, one could imagine Shirasaki. Although he was a commandant of the Black Armored Corps and had a high monthly salary, it was nothing compared to some wealthy businessmen. Humans have desires. Shirasaki also wanted to buy beautiful maids and servants to make his life more comfortable. He even wanted to buy good materials to forge good weapons. All of these were shiny silver and glittering gold. Humph, this money is mine. The sect doesn't know anyway. Shirasaki was greedy. He would kill the middle-aged man and take the money. If he killed the wrong person, the middle-aged man could only blame his bad luck. At the foot of Tianyan Mountain, there were 5 war horses on the official road. There were people beside each horse. Among them, there was a small and skinny man with a height of 7 feet. It was Dong Yen. The other 3 people were surrounding him. Among these 3 people, 2 of them had tall statures and were relatively fat. The other one was a silver-haired middle-aged man. Big brother, you said that Li Lao-san brought down the purple gold? I don't understand. The purple gold mining area and the gold mining area are separated. Li Lao-san entered the gold mining area as a laborer. How did he get the purple gold? One of the 2 fat men asked. Big brother, can you tell me this secret now? Pang, I'll tell you. Dong Yen sneered. The purple gold mining area and the gold mining area are connected by a secret tunnel. What? The 2 fat men were shocked. The silver-haired middle-aged man was very calm. Actually, one of my brothers accidentally dug too deep when he was mining at the purple gold mining area. Unexpectedly, it was connected to a small tunnel in the gold mining area. He hastily sealed the mine. There aren't many people who know this secret. Dong Yen said with a faint smile. In the past year, Brother Wang has collected about 10 jin of purple gold. He hid it in the secret tunnel and brought it to Li Lao-san. When Li Lao-san brings out the purple gold, we will be rich. To Dong Yen, the 3 people beside him were the 3 people he trusted the most. They had been through life and death situations with him. Previously, he didn't tell Pang and Pang because he was worried that the 2 fat men's careless personality would leak it out. 10 jin. Pang and Pang were shocked. Pang muttered, 10 jin of purple gold. That's 1,000 jin of gold. That's 1,000,000 taels of silver. 100 taels of silver. We are rich. 1,000,000 taels of silver. This was a huge sum of money. Even for a wealthy salt merchant, having 1,000,000 taels of silver was not bad. 10 jin of purple gold. Humph, compared to the purple gold that the Guiyuan sect excavates in a year, it's nothing. But with this money, we don't need to hide in this small Huafeng city. Dong Yen laughed. Suddenly, he glanced into the distance. Look, a laborer is coming down the mountain. I reckon that Li Lao-san will be here soon. Chapter 104. On Tianyan Mountain, beside a clear stream, Ting Qingshan and Tian Dan were drinking wine and eating meat. They were very satisfied. TSK. The taste of this meat is really not bad. Tian Dan threw a piece of meat into his mouth, chewed it twice and swallowed it. Then he drank a mouthful of strong wine and smacked his lips in pleasure. This Hutong really knows how to conduct himself. Ting Qingshan laughed. As a centurion, their meals were indeed much better, but they couldn't eat all kinds of special dishes. These were specially brought from Huafeng City by Hutong to show their respect. We've only been stationed here for half a month. There's still more than a month before we can return to Jiangning County City. But when we get back, we'll be busy with the centurion competition. Each division has to compete with the 2 weakest ones. Prepare to welcome the 12th of June and recruit new people. Tian Dan laughed. Brother Qingshan, you don't have to worry. The Black Armored Corps had a total of 4 divisions, and each division had to choose the 2 weakest centurions. Brother Tiandan, your strength in our 1st division is not bad. There are many who are worse than you. Ting Qingshan suddenly looked into the distance. Hey, look over there. Tiandan also looked over, puzzled. Through the lush trees and flowers, he could vaguely see a figure on the mountain road in the distance. Shirasaki? Tiandan was surprised. Why is he going down the mountain? Today, those hard workers are going down the mountain. He's a dignified commandant. What can he do down the mountain? Tiandan couldn't understand. It's a bit unusual. Ting Qingshan frowned, then turned to look at Tiandan and laughed. Brother Tiandan, let's follow him and see. Won't we know? Yes, let's go. Tiandan was also interested. The 2 of them held their weapons and followed behind him. Sir. My lord. As Shirasaki walked on the mountain path, some of the soldiers going up and down the mountain immediately bowed respectfully when they saw Shirasaki. Shirasaki's brows furrowed as he stared at the middle-aged man's silhouette over 20 zhang away. There are so many soldiers on this mountain path. If I were to make a move, they would most likely discover me. Especially after I found the purple gold on that middle-aged man. If the surrounding guards saw it and spread the news, it would be terrible. Shirasaki suppressed his impatience and followed along. This mountain path was the liveliest, because at the foot of the mountain, there was also a group of soldiers specially guarding and taking care of those warhorses. The guards on the mountain and at the foot of the mountain often changed shifts to deliver food and so on. Therefore, there were often guards on the mountain path. The middle-aged man, Li Laosan, went down the mountain together with the other hard workers. He seemed very ordinary. Hi, Li Laosan. You've been working for half a year, so you must have earned quite a lot of money. When you get home, your wife will definitely prepare food and wine and warm the bed for you. Me? If my wife is so good, I can't bear to leave home. Li Laosan snorted. At the same time, Li Laosan casually glanced behind him. The figure in the distance shocked him. This big shot from the Black Armored Corps has been watching me for a while. Why is he following me now? With a guilty conscience, the more he thought about it, the more suspicious he became. No, impossible. He can't have discovered me. Li Laosan couldn't think of how he could have given himself away. Yes, Boss Dong is at the foot of the mountain. When we meet him, everything will be fine. Once this is done, we can enjoy a lifetime of wealth. Li Laosan suppressed his anxiety and pretended to casually chat with the surrounding hard workers as he walked down the mountain. Shirasaki stared coldly at the middle-aged man. In his eyes, such a crude man was a piece of cake. What he needed to consider now was to not let the guards see him kill someone or find the purple gold. I'll let you live a while longer. Shirasaki followed him like this. He wasn't afraid of being discovered. Li Laosan and Shirasaki, one in front and one behind, went down the mountain. Of course, behind them, Ting Qingshan and Tiandan were secretly following them. Shirasaki's pupils suddenly shrank. We're at the foot of the mountain. Immediately, Shirasaki sped up. Li Laosan immediately separated from the other hard workers and turned to the side, disappearing from Shirasaki's sight. Shirasaki rushed to the foot of the mountain in a few breaths' time. He immediately looked towards the direction of the official road. Boss Dong. Li Laosan saw a figure and a warhorse in the distance and immediately ran over. Help? Shirasaki's face revealed a ferocious expression. Let's die together. There were only a few hard workers in the surroundings and no guards. Moreover, the other party had a warhorse to help them. Shirasaki couldn't care too much. Who? Using Qinggong, Shirasaki was like a gust of wind as he rapidly approached Li Laosan. Li Laosan looked back and couldn't help but panic. Boss Dong, save me! At the same time, his two legs desperately kicked the ground. However, the purple gold bag tied to his right leg was too heavy. He couldn't run fast at all. "Who's there?" The tall and fat man held a thick black iron mace and shouted angrily. "Humph," Shirasaki sneered. What kind of status did he have? Did he care about the little thief at the side? Die. Shirasaki smiled disdainfully. The spear in his hand instantly pierced towards Li Lao-san. Li Lao-san screamed in fear. "Help!" However, Dong Yen and the other three who were far away couldn't save him in time. With a poochie sound, the spear's tip pierced through Li Lao-san's throat from behind. Li Lao-san's eyes widened. Originally, he was going to obtain great riches and honor. But at the last moment, he died. In the distance, Dong Yan's face darkened. He shouted, "Kill him!" Dong! 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 De Pang held a pair of iron mace, Pang a pair of large copper hammers, and the silver-haired middle-aged man held a sharp sword and rushed over. As for Dong Yen himself, he was following far behind. 2 flying knives appeared in his hands. "Humph!" Shirasaki kicked Li Lao-san's corpse to the side. Then, he slashed the spear on Li Lao-san's right leg. Immediately, a layer of his pants was cut open. Vaguely, the cloth bag on Li Lao-san's calf could be seen. This cloth bag already had a crack, and pieces of purple gold were exposed. The purple light was breathtaking. Shirasaki's eyes immediately lit up. "Little thief!" De Pang, who was running at the front, also saw the purple gold. He couldn't help but roar and smash the iron mace in his hand. "Let go!" Shirasaki sneered and swung the spear in his hand. "Who?" Clang! The spear hit the iron mace. De Pang's right hand was shaken, and he couldn't help but take 3 steps back. On the other hand, Bai Qi also felt his right hand go numb. He looked at the tall and fat man in astonishment and thought, what an astonishing strength! With just one exchange of blows, Bai Qi was sure that his opponent was a first-rated warrior. "Big brother, this guy is tough," De Pang roared. "Let's attack together." Dong Yen also rushed over. The silver-haired man held a long sword in his hand. Swish, swish, a sword shadow enveloped Shirasaki Commandant. Shirasaki's face turned cold. He shook the spear in his hand, and the spear in his hand instantly danced into a circle. Only a sound of collision could be heard, and the sword's shadow was swept away. Where did this expert come from? It's another first-rated warrior. Shirasaki became more anxious. He didn't expect so many powerful experts to appear. Ting Qingshan and Tian Dan hid in the bushes and stared at this side. Because of the distance, Ting Qingshan and Tian Dan didn't see the purple gold warrior. "Qingshan, what should we do?" Tian Dan whispered. "Brother Tian, this is such an interesting thing. Why don't you watch for a while?" Ting Qingshan smiled faintly. Tian Dan also nodded and smiled. That Shirasaki killed that laborer and also attracted these powerful experts. It seems that this matter is not ordinary. This trouble was caused by him, so let him solve it himself. Seeing this Shirasaki being defeated is also a very interesting thing. Ting Qingshan carefully observed the battle. Yes, among the 4 people, the one with the throwing knife has been standing at the side, not daring to engage in close combat. The ones who are really fighting are those 3. Among them, the 2 fat men are quite strong, but their hammer and saber techniques are ordinary. Only the silver-haired man can be considered an expert. But compared to Shirasaki, he is still lacking a lot. Yes, the fat man with the 2 hammers was stabbed by a spear. It seems that the 3 of them can't defeat Shirasaki. What a pity. I wanted to see Shirasaki be defeated. Tian Dan said helplessly. Shirasaki, who had mastered the 9 spears of the morning sun, was not much weaker than Yu Song. When he fought with Ting Qingshan used 50,000 jin of strength to execute the pursuing shadow spear technique. That was why Shirasaki was defeated so miserably. But Shirasaki's true strength was still extremely strong. To be able to assume the position of commandant, how could he not have some skills? Pang, retreat! Dong Yen anxiously shouted. Want to escape? Shirasaki laughed wildly and shook the long spear in his hand. Pang only saw a bright light in front of him, as dazzling as the sun. Shio! Dong Yen hurriedly threw a flying knife at Shirasaki. Shirasaki shook the long spear and knocked the flying knife away. At the same time, he pushed it forward. Poochie! It directly pierced into Pang's chest and was quickly pulled out. Poochie! Blood splattered. A frightening big hole appeared in Pang's chest and blood flowed out. Pang opened his eyes wide and looked at Dong Yen in the distance. He wanted to say something, but in the end, his head drooped and his whole body fell down with a loud bang. Pang! Dong Yan's complexion changed greatly. Little brother! Pang also went crazy. Ian, all of you leave quickly! The silver-haired middle-aged man berated. At the same time, a trace of white frost mist appeared on his face, and the speed of the long sword in his hand suddenly increased. No, I want to avenge little brother. Pang's eyes turned red as if he had gone crazy. Haha, go all out? Shirasaki laughed loudly. Today, none of you will leave alive. Ever since he mastered the 9 spears of the rising sun, Shirasaki has never felt so happy. Previously, he was ruthlessly beaten by Ting Qingshan right after he mastered it. This caused Shirasaki to feel very unwilling, but now, he is very happy to ravage this group of people. Chi! Pang's stomach was slashed by the spear, causing blood to spurt out. Clang! The silver-haired middle-aged man blocked the spear and simultaneously kicked Pang's body, sending Pang flying. Ian, you take Pang and escape first, the silver-haired middle-aged man said anxiously. Dong Yen stared at Pang's corpse, his whole body slightly trembled. He immediately turned his head and stared at Shirasaki. His eyes were faintly red as he said in a low voice, Uncle, you take Pang and escape. With that, he unexpectedly rushed towards Shirasaki. Dong Yen, who had been hiding in the distance since the beginning, unexpectedly approached at a very fast speed. P.S. The 3rd chapter is here. It seems that there is still time. One more chapter. Hee, give me some monthly votes to encourage me. Chapter 105. Haha, prepare to die. Shirasaki laughed maniacally. He had never thought highly of Dong Yen. How many tricks could a person who only dared to release flying daggers from afar have? Big brother! The injured Pang shouted anxiously. Ian, don't go crazy. The silver-haired middle-aged man was also anxious. They all knew that Dong Yen was the weakest among the 4. It was only because of his intelligence and ruthlessness that he became the leader of the 4. In terms of strength, either Pang or Pang could easily defeat Dong Yen. However, Dong Yen rushed over like a madman. Ha! Shirasaki held the spear with both hands and was about to stab Dong Yen to death. At this moment, a cold glint flashed past Dong Yan's eyes. A long black pipe suddenly emerged from his right sleeve. He suddenly pressed one of the grooves on the black pipe. Shio! Several phantoms shot out from the mouth of the long black pipe. Their speed was so fast that it was horrifying. Shirasaki's expression changed. Not good. The unknown hidden weapons were too fast. He only had time to wave the spear in his hand and barely touched one of the shadows. Little thief, prepare to die. Shirasaki only felt pain in his left arm and right leg. Very soon, they became numb. He was furious. He roared angrily, wanting to kill Dong Yen. However, Dong Yen turned around and fled. If you are not afraid of death, chase. Once poisoned, the more violently one moved and the faster one's blood flowed, the faster the poison would spread. Shirasaki could only stand in place, not daring to move at all. As for Dong Yen, he was 10 zhang away from them. It was obvious that he didn't want to escape. His eyes swept over Pang's corpse and then looked at the purple gold pouch tied to old Lisan's leg. It was filled with purple gold. "Come, I will kill you if you come." Bai Qi fiercely pressed on the acupuncture points on his left arm and right leg. At the same time, he immediately tore off the cloth strips on his clothes and tightly tied them around his left arm near his shoulder and thigh, trying to stop the flow of blood. The silver-haired middle-aged man immediately grabbed Erpang's corpse. "Lord Commandant!" A shout was heard. Ting Qingshan and Tiandan finally appeared. "Let's go!" Dong Yen gritted his teeth and directly jumped onto the horse. The silver-haired middle-aged man also placed Erpang's corpse on the horse. De Pang also mounted the horse. The few of them immediately galloped away. The horses under the command of Dong Yen and the others were all good horses that could travel 1,000 li in a day. This sudden burst of speed caused Ting Qingshan and Tiandan to only be able to stare at each other's back. In fact, in terms of speed, Tiandan could not keep up, but Ting Qingshan could. But Ting Qingshan could not possibly help Shirasaki vent his anger and expose his strength. Galloping on the horse, Dong Yen and the others were in great pain. Little brother, little brother! De Pang's eyes were filled with tears. He was in great pain. Dong Yen gritted his teeth. "It's me, it's because of me. If I had taken out the ghost spirit needle earlier, Erpang would not have died." When Erpang was in danger, Dong Yen did not have the time to take out the ghost spirit needle. He could only use the throwing knife to block. But there was no way, he could not save Erpang. "Big brother, it's not your fault. Just now, you did not have the time to save Erpang. I could only watch." De Pang was in great pain. "Ian, don't be too sad. Erpang is dead. Fortunately, he has a son, so his bloodline is not broken." The silver-haired middle-aged man sighed. "Now we should take good care of his sons." "Yes." Dong Yen thought for a moment. "Uncle, we can't stay in Huafeng City any longer. We should go back immediately, take the money, and immediately leave Huafeng City, leave Jiangning County." The silver-haired middle-aged man was surprised. "Big brother, we have worked hard to gather the troops in Huafeng City. Are we just going to abandon them?" De Pang looked at Dong Yen. The troops under their command were all locals, and they all had families. Letting these ordinary people roam the world with them was simply impossible. What's the point of thinking so much? If we can make a name for ourselves in Huafeng City, we can do better in other places. And that bastard from Guiyuan sect, Dong Yen, will definitely take his life one day, Dong Yen said while gnashing his teeth. "Hit by the ghost spirit needle, he won't die?" The silver-haired middle-aged man asked. "Humph, if he is indecisive, the poison will spread, and he will die. But if he is ruthless to himself, he won't die. At most, he will become a cripple." Dong Yen sneered. "Even if he is a cripple, he killed my brother. I will kill him with my own hands." Immediately, Dong Yen and his group rushed to Huafeng City. At noon that day, Dong Yen and his group took their children and families and quietly left Huafeng City, continuing to roam the world. "Sir Commandant, are you okay?" Tiandan asked. Ting Qingshan discovered the bag on the leg of the corpse next to him. The bag revealed purple gold granules. Ting Qingshan was secretly shocked. It was actually purple gold. No wonder Shirasaki would secretly make a move. So it was to swallow this purple gold, and not let the sect know. Ting Qingshan immediately reached out to untie the bag, and put the purple gold inside. "Ting Qingshan, what are you doing?" Shirasaki shouted. "This purple gold was stolen by this person. Of course, I have to bring it back," Ting Qingshan calmly said. Shirasaki gnashed his teeth. His heart was filled with hatred. He quietly chased after that middle-aged man alone. What was his goal? Wasn't it for this purple gold? But now that he was discovered by Ting Qingshan and his group, he had no chance to swallow it alone. Unless he could kill Ting Qingshan and Tiandan. But he was very clear about Ting Qingshan's strength. He would rather fight 10 rounds with the 4 people just now than fight with Ting Qingshan. He didn't get the purple gold, and he was poisoned. He really tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. TSK. Shirasaki Commandant, Brother Tiandan, this bag of purple gold is at least 10 jin, maybe even more than 10 jin. Ting Qingshan carried the small cloth bag, and said in admiration. Purple gold of the same volume was much heavier than gold. This was also the reason why the legendary Heavenly Emperor of Qin Mountain's heavenly sword required more than 100 jin of purple gold. After all, a normal sharp sword only weighed a few jin. But the heavenly sword weighed more than 100 jin. It was understandable that a small cloth bag of purple gold weighed 5 jin. 10 jin of purple gold? Tiandan exclaimed, that's 5 jin of gold, 1 million taels of silver. That's a huge fortune. In our Guiyuan sect, the purple gold mine can only produce a few dozen jin of purple gold in a month. These people are really resourceful. They actually stole 5 jin without being discovered. If they took 1 jin every month, the Guiyuan sect wouldn't be able to find out. After all, it was impossible for the purple gold to be produced every month. 5 jin. Shirasaki felt even more distressed. Commandant's monthly salary was very high, 1,000 taels of silver a month. But after deducting the normal expenses, Shirasaki only had 3,000 to 5,000 taels of silver a year. He wouldn't even be able to accumulate 1 million taels of silver in 100 years. Sir, what happened here? A few guards came from afar and asked respectfully. Sir Commandant, can you still walk? Tiandan asked worriedly. You too. Shirasaki pointed at 2 of the guards and shouted, help me up the mountain. The 2 guards felt helpless, but they could only follow the order and help Shirasaki. Ting Qingshan looked at Shirasaki. Shirasaki's face was pale, and he seemed to be in pain. After walking for about 20 zhang, Shirasaki shouted anxiously, put me down, quickly! The 2 guards were startled. Scram! Bai Qi anxiously waved his right hand and sent the 2 guards flying to the side. Immediately after, Bai Qi sat down on the ground and tore his right pant. Voila! He tore his pants to the bottom. What? Ting Qingshan and Shirasaki's expression changed. Shirasaki's right leg had swelled up, and it was completely black. What kind of poison is this? Tiandan cried out in shock. This poison is actually so vicious. Shirasaki originally thought that he could rely on his inner strength to withstand the poison. But who would have thought that even after he sealed his acupuncture points and used a bandage to bind the poison, he could only slow it down. Tiandan, do the 2 of you know what kind of poison this is? Do you know how to detoxify it? Tiandan shook his head. Ting Qingshan shook his head as well. Ting Qingshan was not afraid of poison, because the core of Ting Qingshan's cultivation was the control of the body. In his previous life, Ting Qingshan was able to control the flow of his qi and blood, slowing down his heartbeat, etc. Now, Ting Qingshan's control of his body was even more powerful. Whether it was his muscles, skin, bones, internal organs, etc., Ting Qingshan could control them all. His body could instantly grow taller or shrink by a few inches. He could even control a certain area and stop the flow of qi and blood for a short period of time. The transmission of poison relied on the blood flow. If the qi and blood did not circulate, the poison naturally could not spread throughout the body. This was also one of the reasons why SS-class experts were so terrifying in his previous life. As for inner strength experts, although they were strong, they relied on their inner strength. The control of their muscles and bones was too weak. Not to mention controlling the flow of qi and blood. Ting Qingshan was not afraid of it, but he could not help others. Lord Commandant, the poison is spreading faster and faster. Tiandan said anxiously. Seeing the black area on Shirasaki's thigh extending towards the root of his thigh, he also felt his heart palpitate. Shirasaki shouted, Do you have a knife? No. I have a dagger. A soldier beside him shouted. Give it to me. Bai Qi immediately took the dagger from the soldier's hand and cut open a wound on his thigh. Immediately, black blood flowed out from the wound. In just a moment, Shirasaki cursed. I'm completely numb. What kind of poison is this? Letting out blood is useless. Shirasaki could clearly feel that the poison was continuously extending. Once it reached a vital point, he would definitely die. Cold sweat appeared on Shirasaki's forehead and his body trembled slightly. Chi. The clothes on his upper body were also torn. His left arm had also become black and swollen. What do I do? What do I do? I can't die, I can't die. Shirasaki was so anxious that his whole body was trembling and cold sweat appeared. Lord Commandant, if you hesitate any longer, you won't be able to be saved. Tian shouted. Shirasaki's whole body quivered. He looked at his swollen thigh and left arm, gritted his teeth and fiercely swung his dagger. Pucci! Pucci! His thigh and left arm were completely cut off. The blood that flowed out from the cut was all red. Shirasaki let out a painful scream. Chapter 106. His entire thigh and left arm were chopped off. Even though Shirasaki had sealed the acupuncture points in advance, blood was still flowing out. Shirasaki's face turned pale and his eyes dimmed. Quick, quick, help me stop the bleeding, quick! Shirasaki's voice was weak as he said. Tian, who was at the side, was anxious. He immediately squatted down and tore Shirasaki's torn outer clothes into strips, and immediately tied up the severed limbs. After all, directly cutting off a leg and sealing the acupuncture points wouldn't slow down the bleeding much. If the bleeding continued like this, it was entirely possible for a person to die from excessive blood loss. He stopped the bleeding from the wounds on his right leg and left arm. Shirasaki's lips were pale, and his face was pale without a trace of blood. His eyes were dim, and he seemed to be in a daze. Quick, carry Sir Commandant up the mountain. Ting Qingshan shouted to the soldiers. Also, the two of you, quickly ride to Huafeng City, and find the best doctor in Huafeng City. Quick. Yes, sir. The soldiers were also stunned. Sir Commandant was the leader of the Black Armored Corps. Two soldiers immediately ran towards the place where the war horses were, while the other soldiers immediately helped. They carried Bai Qi on their backs and ran up the mountain. Ting Qingshan and Tian trailed far behind. Tian's face was still filled with horror. He turned to look at Ting Qingshan. Brother Qingshan, this time we're playing big. Yes, we're playing big. Ting Qingshan nodded. If Ting Qingshan and Tian had appeared at the beginning and scared off the enemies, nothing would have happened. Actually, Ting Qingshan and Tian wanted to see Shirasaki suffer at first, but when they saw Shirasaki gaining the upper hand, they were unhappy. Who would have thought that with this turn of his head, Shirasaki would be hit? It's not our fault. We didn't want to harm him. Who would have thought that the young boy actually had such a vicious hidden weapon? He can only blame Shirasaki's bad luck. Tian immediately sneered. In this world, no one was a coward. Brother Qingshan, it's best not to tell anyone about what we saw in the dark. Although it's not a big deal, if we investigate it, it will be troublesome. Tian said. Ting Qingshan nodded and smiled. Don't worry, I won't go looking for trouble for no reason. A commandant of the Black Armored Corps had been reduced to such a state. The Gui Yuan sect would definitely not let the matter rest. If you and I don't talk about it, no one will know, Tian chuckled. In fact, when I saw Shirasaki, I was so happy. Haha, in the past, he used to be a tyrant. Even he didn't expect that there would be such a day. He brought this upon himself. He can't blame anyone else. Ting Qingshan looked up the mountain road at Shirasaki, who was being carried on his back. Ting Qingshan didn't have a good impression of Shirasaki. He's useless for the rest of his life. Ting Qingshan said indifferently. One of his legs is broken, he can't even stand up, and one of his arms is broken. He's useless. He's finished. Tian Dan looked at the bag of purple gold in Ting Qingshan's hand and sneered. But who can he blame? This Shirasaki obviously coveted this bag of purple gold, so he wanted to secretly take the purple gold for himself. This is called going for wool and coming home shorn. Even if he's useless, he can't blame anyone. Ting Qingshan looked at the bag of purple gold in his hand. Money moves people's hearts. Ting Qingshan was very clear about the power of money. In his previous life, in the underworld, didn't all kinds of assassins kill people because they accepted the task and received the money? Money and power, from ancient times to the present, had infinite power. When the soldiers carried the unconscious and disabled Bai Qi up the mountain, Bai Qi's expression changed. The entire mining area was boiling. All the black armored corps sergeants were shocked. Huafeng City Guard Captain Hu Tong watched the black armored corps sergeants carrying Shirasaki away. His complexion was very ugly. I knew it. That Shirasaki followed them, nothing good would come out of it. Sure enough, that Dong Yan's methods are really ruthless. Even Shirasaki fell into his hands. This is troublesome, big trouble. In the mining area, Hu Tong's forehead was full of sweat, and his mind was in a mess. Shirasaki's legs are broken, and his arms are broken. It's over, this Guiyuan sect will definitely not let this go. After this investigation, that Shirasaki, at that time, followed Dong Yan's subordinate down the mountain. He also saw that I went to search his body. He should know that I was bribed. Hu Tong was very nervous. The mining area was a place that the Guiyuan sect valued the most. Daring to be bribed, once found out, was a capital crime. No, Shirasaki might not notice that I searched that man. Maybe he won't find trouble with me. Hu Tong's forehead was dripping with sweat, but he didn't notice. At this moment, his heart was very unwilling to be finished like this. There was still a glimmer of hope in his heart. He clenched his teeth. It doesn't matter if I lose my position, my life is the most important. Forget it, first prepare. First return to Huafeng City, then act according to the situation. Hu Tong made a decision in his heart. Inside the mining area, outside Shirasaki's residence, the 5 centurions gathered together. Shirasaki Commandant has fallen to this point, what should we do now? The dwarf Lu He was a little impatient. This mining area was actually crippled by the Commandant. This will cause the higher-ups to blame us. The Lord Commander and the others are not that stupid. The tall and thin Wan Fanxiang squinted his eyes and sneered. We already know what happened. This is simply Shirasaki's greed. Who can he blame? Don't talk about being crippled. Even if he's dead, he can only accept it. At this moment, Wan Fanxiang did not put Shirasaki in his eyes. In the past, the reason why Shirasaki was somewhat feared by everyone was because of his identity as a commandant. But now that he was crippled, he still wanted to be a commandant? Naturally, some people in their hearts no longer cared about Shirasaki. What's the point of saying all this? Tian Dan shouted. There are 3 things we need to do now. First, find a doctor to treat Shirasaki Commandant. Second, find out how the purple gold was smuggled out. Third, immediately report this matter to Jiangning County City, and let the commander and sovereign decide. Du Hong and Ting Qingshan also agreed with what Tian Dan said. I've already found a doctor. Du Hong said loudly, then let's do it this way. I'll personally take some people and rush back to Jiangning County City to inform the Lord Commander and the others of this news. Yes. Then I'll have to trouble you, old Du, Tian Dan nodded. Immediately, Ting Qingshan and the others divided the work. Du Hong personally led a dozen or so black armored corps elites and rushed to Jiangning County City without stopping. As for Ting Qingshan and the other 3 centurions, they began to seriously investigate how the purple gold was smuggled out. Investigate, investigate to the end. Ting Qingshan, Tian Dan, and the other 2 centurions were together. Did your people find any useful information? Ting Qingshan looked at the other 3. I found nothing on my side. No. Tian Dan shook his head. I didn't find anything at all. Wan Fanxiang and Lu He also shook their heads. Wan Fanxiang cursed. Those F***ers, they really have some tricks up their sleeves. This purple gold mine is so heavily guarded, but they were actually able to smuggle 10 jin of purple gold out. How did they manage to smuggle it out? Tian Dan said, we only know a little bit of information now. The dead man is called Li Laosan. He's from the 2nd mine in the south. He's from the gold mine. How did he get his hands on the purple gold? Ting Qingshan also frowned. The laborers of the purple gold mine could not come into contact with the miners of the other 4 mines. Even their living quarters were far apart, so there was no way for them to meet. There are 2 possibilities. Ting Qingshan frowned. First, there's a traitor among the 100 black armored corps soldiers guarding the mine. He secretly took the purple gold and found a way to give it to Li Laosan. However, the black armored corps soldiers guarding the purple gold mine are not allowed to leave their own areas. The management is the strictest. The possibility of a traitor is not high. The guards of the purple gold mine were the unluckiest of the 5 mines. Ting Qingshan finally experienced it. Among the 5 centurions, he was the one who was under the most pressure. Because in the case of Shirasaki's disability, the most serious thing was not that Shirasaki was disabled, but that 10 jin of purple gold was taken out. 10 jin of purple gold was equivalent to 1 million taels of silver. This was a huge fortune. To the Guiyuan sect, there were many post-liminary experts in the Guiyuan sect. Shirasaki's life was not worth 1 million taels of silver. If they can steal 10 jin this time, they can steal another 10 jin next time. Ting Qingshan said solemnly, the Guiyuan sect will never allow this to happen. Shirasaki's disability is a small matter, but the theft of the purple gold is a big matter. We must find out how this was done. If we don't find out, we won't have peace in the future. The other 3 centurions nodded. The Tianyan Mountain gold mine was the treasure of the Guiyuan sect. Even Qinghu Island and other forces were jealous of it. The Guiyuan sect risked their lives to protect this treasure. Now, someone dared to steal the purple gold. How could the Guiyuan sect tolerate this? Brother Qingshan, you just said that there were 2 possibilities. One was the black armored corps spy. What about the other one? Tian Dan said. Ting Qingshan looked at the mine in the distance and said, the mine is deep. In order to mine the purple gold mine, the miners have been desperately digging. Year after year, there are many tunnels in the mine. I think maybe the purple gold mine and the gold mine have been dug through somewhere underground, so that the hard workers of the purple gold mine could meet the people of the gold mine? Tian Dan and Wan Fanxiang were stunned. However, Lu He shook his head and said, Brother Qingshan, don't the guards always go on patrol? The guards and black armored army sergeants guarding the gold mining area would also go down to patrol. If the 2 sides were connected, they should have been discovered. It's connected, but it's blocked again. Ting Qingshan said, this is not impossible. Ting Qingshan didn't believe that there was a spy among his soldiers. In this aspect, the Guiyuan sect's military discipline was very strict. Once a spy was discovered, the consequences would be unimaginable. Investigate. We can only investigate to the end. Tian Dan said. We will try our best. If we can't find anything, we can't do anything. Lu He said with a smile. Sir, Commandant is awake. Suddenly, one of the black armored corps soldiers who took care of Shirasaki ran over. Awake? Ting Qingshan and the other 3 stood up. Ask Shirasaki. He must know something. Tian Dan said, otherwise, how could he chase after that Li Laosan? The 4 centurions immediately ran towards Shirasaki's residence. Chapter 107. At this time, it was noon. Ting Qingshan and the other three entered Shirasaki's residence. As soon as Ting Qingshan entered the house, he smelled a faint smell of blood and herbs. Although the doctor had not arrived, there were so many soldiers in the mining area. There were also some who knew some simple treatment methods. They first gave Shirasaki some simple treatment. Fortunately, Shirasaki's inner strength was vigorous. He only fainted for 4 to 6 hours before waking up. Lord Commandant. Tiandan cupped his hands and said, Old Du has already personally brought people to Jiangning County City to pass the news to the sect. Shirasaki's pale face was very gloomy. His gaze was even more sinister. He no longer had the carefree look he used to have. Did you find out the identity of the thief who fought with me? Shirasaki asked coldly. No, Brother Qingshan and I don't know those people. Also, no one else saw them. Tiandan cupped his hands and said, Trash! Shirasaki, who was sitting on the bed, suddenly straightened his body and angrily scolded. You two don't know them? Don't you know how to draw? Get the portrait and go investigate. Find out the identity of that kid, the silver-haired man, and the fatty. Quickly, find out who they are and catch them. Shirasaki's eyes were about to spit fire. He was about to go crazy. Trash? Tiandan's face turned cold. He glanced at Shirasaki but held back and did not say anything. Wan Fanxiang and the others also had a trace of disdain in their eyes. In the past, Shirasaki's relations with others were not good. Now that he was disabled, he still wanted to put on airs as the commandant? Shirasaki swept his gaze over the 4 people in front of him. He was even more furious and secretly hateful. This group of bastards, seeing that I am disabled, they all look down on me. Although he hated them, Shirasaki did not dare to go too far. Because he knew he was a disabled person. He definitely could not sit on the commandant's position. In the future, he would be all alone. If he offended the 4 of them, they could easily torture him in the future. Sir Commandant, Ting Qingshan said, we will definitely investigate the identity of the thief, but the most important thing now was how the purple gold was smuggled out. I wonder if Lord Commandant has any news? Shirasaki's eyes lit up, and he immediately shouted sternly, Go quickly, go catch that Hu Tong for me. It's him. He's the traitor. The mournful voice resounded in the house, causing Ting Qingshan and the others' hearts to skip a beat. Hu Tong. Ting Qingshan and the other 3 stared blankly. That Huafeng city guard captain who was good at flattering people? Let's go. Tiandan was the first to turn around and walk out of the house. Ting Qingshan and the other 2 also followed suit. Only Shirasaki and a black armored corps soldier who was taking care of him were left in the house. Shirasaki's eyes flashed with an ominous glint. He swept a glance at the soldier beside him and shouted, You, get out! The soldier jumped in fright and ran out. Shirasaki sat on the bed and lifted the quilt. Looking at the bandaged, severed limbs, tears silently flowed down. My leg, my hand. Shirasaki's whole body trembled. Thousands of thoughts surged in his mind. He seemed to see the dark nightmarish days in the future. I'm finished. Shirasaki actually lowered his head and cried. After a long time, he suddenly raised his head. His eyes flashed with a crazy ruthlessness. That bastard who used the concealed weapon, I must kill him, I must. And that Hu Tong, he was the one who let that laborer go. At this time, Shirasaki already hated Hu Tong. Tiandan, Ting Qingshan, and the other centurions all looked down on me from the bottom of their hearts. He wanted to take revenge, but he didn't feel that he had the ability to do so. Ah! Shirasaki raised his head and let out a pained and angry roar. Suddenly, Shirasaki felt dizzy and fell back onto the bed powerlessly. After all, he had lost too much blood and had just woken up. Now that his emotions were too intense and he was roaring crazily, his body naturally couldn't take it and he fell into a dazed state again. Ting Qingshan and the other three were worried that Hu Tong would disregard the orders of the Black Armored Corps sergeants, so the four of them personally went to Hu Tong's residence. "Four sirs," Sir Hu Tong rushed back to Huafeng City this morning. He said that he knew of a doctor in Huafeng City, and he wanted to invite that famous doctor over for Sir Commandant. Facing Ting Qingshan and the other three, a soldier said fearfully. Ting Qingshan and the other three looked at each other. "Let's go." Tian Dan sighed and turned back. "Sure enough, that Hu Tong is a traitor." Wan Fanxiang sneered, "But that Hu Tong is also smart." When he saw that Shirasaki was seriously injured and crippled, he knew that something was wrong and escaped. He left in the morning. "It's already noon now. How can we catch up?" Lu He sighed. Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, "It's impossible to catch up to Hu Tong. Now we should investigate how the purple gold was lost." Let's check the depths of the purple gold mining area first and see if there's a place connected to the gold mining area. Investigate carefully. The laborers of the purple gold mining area began to be interrogated one by one. Anyone who said that there was a passage connected to the gold mining area was not only not punished, but also rewarded with 1,000 taels of silver. However, not a single one of the laborers knew. Since they couldn't get anything out of the interrogation, the sergeants of the Black Armored Army could only start to carefully investigate the purple gold mine. The ordinary soldiers also started to investigate the gold mine. The entire mining area temporarily stopped digging. The laborers rested in their own residences. All the Black Armored Corps sergeants were busy. Ting Qingshan and the others were also very tired. Soon, the sky turned dark. "Sir, the doctor is here. The doctor is here." A soldier ran over to inform Ting Qingshan. He immediately recognized this soldier as one of the 2 soldiers he had sent to find the doctor. He immediately shouted, "Where's First Madam?" "She went to Sir Commandant's place." The soldier replied, "Let's go and take a look." Wan Fanxiang stood up. Ting Qingshan and the others walked towards Shirasaki's residence. Just as they reached the door, they heard curses coming from inside the house. "Get out! Get out!" Soon, they saw a white-haired old man running out in a sorry state. When the old man saw Ting Qingshan and the others, he immediately cupped his hands and said, "Four sirs." "How is it?" Ting Qingshan asked. The doctor immediately said respectfully, "The sirs in the house are in good health. Even with such a serious injury, he can still hold on. Now, he only needs to recuperate carefully and then nourish himself." When encountering a cripple, even the best doctor could only recuperate his body. But how could a severed limb regrow? If this was the society of Ting Qingshan's previous world, the severed limb could be completely detoxified and reattached. However, this was the ancient times, not the technological society of his previous world. "Tian Dan, Lu Ha, you guys are outside, right? Come in." Shirasaki's roar came from inside the house. "Where's the person I asked you to capture, Hu Tong? Where is he? All of you, come in. That Hu Tong escaped long ago. We can't do anything. Sir Commandant, you're seriously injured and need to recuperate. It's not good for you to get angry. We won't disturb you anymore." Tian Dan said loudly. Then, he exchanged glances with the others and immediately walked far away. The current Shirasaki was a madman. Going there would be torture. "You bastards!" Shirasaki cursed angrily. Ting Qingshan and the other 3 just looked at each other and didn't say anything. In this world, there were many people dying in battle every day. Some of them died for their loved ones or clansmen. Perhaps it was worthy of others sighing and admiring. People like Shirasaki, who suffered because of greed, didn't deserve sympathy. At night, Tielyan Mountain was very quiet. In Ting Qingshan's spacious stone house, Ting Qingshan sat cross-legged on the bed. His blood flow was slow, his metabolism was slow, and his heartbeat was extremely slow. Suddenly, a series of rapid footsteps sounded. Ting Qingshan's eyes suddenly opened. Sir. A black armored corps sergeant suddenly rushed in and shouted anxiously, Sir Commander is here. Sir Commander? Ting Qingshan was shocked. It was late at night. In the morning, Centurion Du Hong rushed to Jiangning County. No matter how fast he would only reach Jiangning County in the afternoon. Unexpectedly, Sir Commander arrived in the middle of the night. Who? Ting Qingshan immediately rushed out. From afar, he could see figures moving about in the distance. Ting Qingshan immediately ran over. Brother Qingshan, Sir Commander has already gone to Shirasaki's residence. Wan Fanxiang had just put on his clothes and was running with Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan said in a low voice, Sir Commander, he actually arrived so quickly. He traveled through the night. Within the sect, this matter is very important. Yes. Wan Fanxiang nodded. Qingshan, when the time comes, don't put the responsibility on yourself. The less trouble, the better. I understand. Ting Qingshan nodded. When Ting Qingshan and Wan Fanxiang ran to Shirasaki's residence, torches were lit outside the house. At this time, Tian Dan and Lu He also ran over from afar. The 4 centurions looked at each other and walked into Shirasaki's house together. Sir Commander. Ting Qingshan and the other 3 bowed. And you are here. The silver-haired, black-robed elder was standing in front of the bed. Centurion Du Hong was beside him. The silver-haired, black-robed elder turned his head and coldly glanced at the 4 of them. In just over a month, such a thing actually happened. Also, who is in charge of guarding the purple gold mine? Yes. Ting Qingshan stepped forward and bowed. The silver-haired, black-robed elder squinted his eyes. Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan had heard of this commander before. Among the 4 commanders, the first commander Ji Hong was the oldest. It was said that he was already over 100 years old. His seniority was extremely high. Even the sovereign Zhuge Yuanhong had to call him second martial uncle. Since he was the first commander, he was naturally the strongest among the 4 commanders. It could be said that Ji Hong was the number 1 figure in the entire Black Armored Corps. He was the stabilizing force of the Black Armored Corps. I will ask you about your matters later. Ji Hong looked coldly at Ting Qingshan, then glanced at the other 4 and shouted, The 5 of you leave first. Without my orders, don't come in. Remember, close the door. Yes, Sir Commander. The 5 centurions bowed and left the house, closing the door. Outside the house. Brother Qingshan, you're out of luck this time around. Our Lord Commander is an extremely ruthless person. Tian Dan said in a low voice. The other 3 centurions looked at Ting Qingshan. They were glad that they were not assigned to guard the purple gold mine. If they guarded it well and there were no problems, that was their duty. There was no reward. But if something happened, it would be troublesome. Tomato finished his update and wanted to say a few words to everyone. A few days ago, Tomato had to move, renovate and look at goods. His fingers had tenosynovitis and a bunch of other troublesome matters. Now his fingers were fine. Without further ado, Tomato wanted to get first place in the monthly vote. In the past 3 years, Tomato had never admitted defeat. He hoped that everyone would help Tomato. Of course, he couldn't just talk and no action. Burst. 3 chapters a day. It was now 11:30 p.m. on the 17th of September. He had 2,678 monthly vote. From now until midnight on the 19th of September, in the next 24.5 hours, every time Tomato's monthly votes increased by 100 votes, Tomato would burst for 1 more day. With an increase of 500 votes, Tomato would burst for 3 chapters a day for 5 days. With an increase of 1,000 votes, Tomato would burst for 10 days. With an increase of 2,000 votes, Tomato would burst for 20 days. 3,000 votes meant 30 days and a whole month. When he was in Coiling Dragon, he had burst for 3,000 votes in one day. Now it was up to the brothers. However many votes everyone had, Tomato dared to burst for as long as he dared. Voting method. Click on the recommended monthly votes to support the author at the bottom of this page. Come on, throw in 3,000 votes. Rush for first place whether you have votes or not, just click on it and you might have a vote. Chapter 108. Inside the room filled with the smell of herbs, Ji Hong stood there as straight as a javelin. Ai. Ji Hong sighed deeply and glanced at the crippled and dispirited Shirasaki. Shirasaki, you're muddle-headed. Originally, with your talent and background, the Guiyuan sect would have heavily nurtured you. I'm old, and I won't be able to hold this position for many years. After a few years, the position will definitely be chosen from the 3 commandant under me. Among the 3 commandant, your strength isn't much weaker than the other 2, and you're the youngest. The Guiyuan sect will naturally nurture those with potential. With your strength and your identity as a core disciple, it's not impossible for you to sit on the position of a commander. But now you. Listening to Ji Hong's words of consolation and sigh, Shirasaki suddenly felt sorrow from the bottom of his heart. His originally beautiful future had now turned into a patch of darkness. Grandmaster. Shirasaki's tears flowed down and he cried out in pain, I can't accept this. I really can't accept this. Grandmaster, you have to avenge your disciple. Cry. Stop crying. Ji Hong scolded. Shirasaki's master was Ji Hong's disciple. Naturally, Ji Hong was more concerned about this disciple. Shirasaki tried hard not to cry, but his heart was filled with sorrow. What's the use of crying? Who can you blame? Ji Hong hated him for not living up to his expectations. If you didn't have the thought of taking the purple gold for yourself, why? Grandmaster, I wanted to take back the purple gold for the sect. Shirasaki hastily said. Still being stubborn, Ji Hong's face turned cold. If it was for the sect, why did you follow that laborer all the way? Why didn't you just order someone to search that laborer's body when Hu Tong was searching? Wouldn't that be enough? Why did you need to follow him all the way to the foot of the mountain before making your move? 500 black armored corps at your command. Not to mention those 3 or 4 first-rated warriors. Even if there were 100 first-rated warriors, when faced with the attack of 500 black armored corps, they would still have to flee. Shirasaki's mouth twitched, but he didn't say anything. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Shirasaki was crippled and wanted to save some face for himself. Seeing Shirasaki's miserable state, Ji Hong didn't say anything more. You, Shirasaki, are also a hero of the Black Armored Corps. Isn't it just a broken leg and an arm? Ji Hong scolded. In the history of our Guiyuan sect, our ancestor, Lu Tianxue, had both of his arms crippled. But with just a pair of legs, he even created the spirit serpent leg technique and was listed in the heavenly ranking. His name shook the world. Shirasaki clenched his teeth and wanted to say something, but he didn't. Ancestor Lu Tianxue at least had 2 legs, but he, Shirasaki, only had 1 leg. Don't look as if your parents have died. Ji Hong's gaze was sharp. That's right. Let me ask you, who is currently ranked 3rd in the earthly ranking? Shirasaki was shocked. Tang Han. Shirasaki recalled that person's achievement. This Tang Han was also extremely talented in the past. His name spread throughout the world, and he was listed in the Hidden Dragon ranking as a young hero of his generation. When he was 21 years old, both his legs were crippled by the enemy. This Tang Han's tendons in his arms and legs were all broken, and he could only sit on a chair. It could be said that he didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken, but he immersed himself in the hidden weapons manuals and studied them for 30 years. Once he appeared, He used his unparalleled hidden weapons to kill over 100 first-rated warriors. Ji Hong said coldly, among the experts in the post-liminary realm, who dares to say that they can defeat Tang Han? His hidden weapons are mysterious and unfathomable. That fairy scattering flowers is something that even innate experts fear. If it wasn't for the fact that his limbs are disabled and his movements are restricted, he might even be ranked first in the earthly ranking. There were tens of millions of experts at the peak of the post-liminary realm in the 9 prefectures. There were 72 positions in the earthly ranking. Usually, the strength of those with similar rankings would be similar. Everything depended on one's reaction during the battle. Shirasaki lowered his head. Indeed, Tang Han's situation was much worse than his. At least he still had one leg and one arm that could exert strength. This Tang Han, I also admire him. Ji Hong sighed. When he was crippled, what was the first thing he did? This. Shirasaki was stunned and immediately said, "Get married." Yes, when he was crippled, the first thing he did was get married. He had 9 wives, 8 sons and 6 daughters. Ji Hong said in a deep voice, when Tang Han was studying hidden weapons, he taught his children at the same time. Which of his 8 sons wasn't a powerful hidden weapon expert? When the 8 heroes of the Tang sect was mentioned, who didn't give them a thumbs up? In this world, who dared to provoke the Tang clan? This Tang Han painstakingly taught his children, thinking that even if he couldn't succeed, he could rely on his children to support him in the future. In this world, who doesn't respect Tang Han? But you, once you were crippled, you became so decadent. When Shirasaki thought of Tang Han, his heart was burning with passion. For a moment, many thoughts surged in his mind. But in just a moment, he felt discouraged and thought to himself, the hidden weapon technique is vast and endless. Even Mr. Tang, with his talent, spent 30 years to master it. Can I do it? Ji Hong glanced at Shirasaki and secretly shook his head. His grand disciple's life had been smooth sailing since he was young, and he didn't have any major setbacks. The land of the 9 prefectures was filled with killings every day, and countless people were crippled. Those who could make a name for themselves with a crippled body were few and far between. There were very few of them, and those who succeeded were all people with unwavering willpower. How can I succeed if I don't have confidence in myself before doing it? Ji Hong sighed to himself. Martial ancestor, do you think I... Shirasaki had just opened his mouth when Ji Hong scolded him. If you want to achieve great things with a crippled body, you should constantly strive to improve yourself. As for the rest, you can think about it slowly. No one can help you. After saying that, Ji Hong strode out of the house, leaving Shirasaki sitting on the bed in a daze. Ting Qingshan and the other 4 gathered outside Shirasaki's house. Although it was late at night, the torches lit up the surroundings. Creak. The door opened and Ji Hong walked out with a cold face. All of you, follow me. Ji Hong glanced at the 5 of them and walked forward. Ting Qingshan and the other 4 looked at each other and silently followed behind Ji Hong. After walking for about 100 feet, they came to a dimly lit area and Ji Hong stood still. Ting Qingshan. Ji Hong shouted. Lord Commander. Ting Qingshan bowed slightly. Ji Hong suddenly turned around and looked at him. Let me ask you, the purple gold has been stolen for a day. Have you found out how the purple gold was stolen? Not yet. Ting Qingshan's answer was concise and he didn't defend himself. Ji Hong looked at Ting Qingshan and nodded in his heart. He hated those who shirked their responsibilities when faced with problems. Involuntarily, Ji Hong compared Ting Qingshan to his grand disciple, Shirasaki, and shook his head. He then said coldly, the purple gold mining area is of great importance. My Gui Yuan sect, the sect leader, and the elders attach great importance to it. I won't punish you for the time being because you failed to guard it. I give you 10 days to find the reason why the purple gold was stolen. The other 4 centurions cooperate with Ting Qingshan. Yes. Ting Qingshan cupped his hands. Yes. The other 4 centurions bowed as well. If you find it, then we'll drop this matter. If you can't find it within 10 days. Ji Hong's face sank. Don't worry, Commander. Within 10 days, this subordinate will definitely find the reason why the purple gold was stolen. Ting Qingshan's words were sonorous and forceful. There were only a few ways to steal it. Whether it was a traitor or a secret underground passage, there must be one. Among the hard laborers in the purple gold mining area, there must be someone who collected the purple gold. Therefore, when the black armored corps sergeants interrogated them, there must be some hard laborers lying. Ordinary sergeants didn't know how to check if someone was lying. But according to Ting Qingshan's previous life's assassin interrogation methods, it wasn't difficult to find out. With Ting Qingshan's methods, dealing with these ordinary hard laborers, from their eyes and expressions, it wouldn't take him more than a few days to find out. Good. Ji Hong sneered. I hope you aren't just blowing your own trumpet. Also, Ji Hong swept his eyes over the 5 people. That Huafeng City Guard Captain Hu Tong colluded with a traitor. Did you catch him? Commander, Hu Tong quietly left after the incident happened this morning. Tian Dan said. Commander, what should we do with this Hu Tong? Wan Fanxiang also inquired. Ji Hong coldly said, in the sex matter of guarding the mining area, it has always been strict. This Hu Tong colluded with a traitor. Even if he was the captain of the city guard, it would be useless. Pass down my order, within the Jiangning County, put out a bounty on Hu Tong. Anyone who can catch Hu Tong or kill Hu Tong on the spot will be rewarded with 1,000 taels of silver and a human-class secret manual of our Gui Yuan sect. Kill Hu Tong? Ting Qingshan secretly sighed in his heart. That Hu Tong was originally the captain of the city guard. But because of this, Hu Tong didn't even have the chance to defend himself, and was directly executed. After all, the Gui Yuan sect attached great importance to the purple gold mine. And this time, a commandant was crippled. How could the Gui Yuan sect be merciful? Even if there was a mistake, they would not let it go. This was the rule. At dawn the next day, Ting Qingshan ordered the black armored corps sergeants to carefully search the purple gold mine. The other 4 centurions also assisted Ting Qingshan, letting the sergeants under them help Ting Qingshan. For a moment, the whole mining area was in a state of panic. For 3 whole days, the purple gold mine was searched everywhere, but no secret passage was found. It was also difficult to find the traitor. Ting Qingshan immediately began to interrogate the miners who mined the purple gold. To be able to accumulate 10 jin of purple gold, it was not something that could be accumulated by one person mining purple gold. Therefore, Ting Qingshan's first step was, find out who would help to collect the purple gold from the other laborers and hand it over to the black armored corps sergeant. After a search, there were 15 people. They were recognized as the leaders of the laborers. They would often collect the purple gold and hand it over together. From these 15 people, Ting Qingshan only spent half a day to confirm that 3 of them were suspicious. Then it was simple. He directly asked the black armored corps sergeants to interrogate the criminals, such as intimidation, torture, etc. The moment the black armored corps set up their formation, one of them was so scared that he spilled the beans. After an hour of interrogation, the other 2 also spilled the beans. After all, these 3 were just ordinary civilians. They had not undergone any special training. How could they withstand specialized interrogation? It turned out that there was more than one way to steal the purple gold. And the way that the 10 jin of purple gold was smuggled out was also found. There was indeed a secret passage, but it was very small and usually blocked with oars. In addition, the place was deep and inconspicuous. In addition, there were many tunnels deep in the mine. This was why the black armored corps sergeants could not find the secret passage after 3 days of investigation. Now there were 3,731 monthly votes, 1,000 more than last night. Just this alone would take Tomato 10 days. Of course, Tomato's outburst might have taken even longer, as there were still more than 3 hours until midnight to calculate the increase in monthly votes. Of course, the longer he took, the more votes he would see at midnight. After midnight, Tomato did not dare to count anymore. If you have the monthly votes, then spend them before midnight. Every 100 more votes meant one more day of outburst. Click on recommended monthly votes below and spend. Chapter 109. Under the canopy of a short tree that required 3 to 4 people to encircle, the 5 centurions gathered. Brother Qingshan, the commander gave you 10 days to investigate, but you didn't even use half the time. The commander probably won't have an excuse to find trouble with you. Wan Fanxiang said with a smile. Beside him, Du Hong whispered, Brother Wan, lower your voice. If the commander hears you, you'll be in trouble. Wan Fanxiang immediately looked around and laughed. What's there to be afraid of? No matter how powerful the commander is, he's still a post-liminary expert. If we're far away, he won't be able to hear us. Oh right, now that Shirasaki is crippled, who do you think the new commandant of our battalion will be? New commandant? The others looked at each other. Ting Qingshan's heart was also moved. The new commandant should be chosen from the 5 of us. Tian Dan said, in terms of strength, Qingshan is the strongest. In terms of experience, Old Du is the strongest. However, the selection of the commandant is decided by the sect. It's based on loyalty and the one they feel the most at ease that they will choose to be the commandant. The others nodded. Will it be possible to transfer a centurion from another battalion to be our commandant? Lu He whispered. Bullsh *T. Wan Fanxiang scolded. The new commandant should be chosen from our battalion. Other battalions want to fight for the position? I'm the first to be dissatisfied. I'm also dissatisfied, Tian Dan also said. Ting Qingshan smiled faintly. Don't worry, the sect won't act recklessly. They have to convince us too. The 5 of us entered the black armored corps through the sect's entrance examination. Du Hong said coldly, in the sect, the position of commandant and commander are usually biased towards the corps disciples. However, it's usually the centurions of the battalion. In the sect, I hope they won't disappoint us. Ting Qingshan also noticed that there were some contradictions in the black armored corps. Anyone like him, who entered the sect through the entrance examination, would consciously form a group and hold a trace of opposing thoughts towards the core disciples of the sect. As for the core disciples, they all thought that they were a cut above others and looked down on outsiders. This was because in history, it was not unheard of for enemies of the Gui Yuan sect to plant spies into the black armored corps. Choosing one of the 5 of us to be the commandant would be fine. However, if they randomly choose an inexperienced core disciple, it's fine if he has the ability, but if he doesn't have the strength, I'll secretly kill him, said Wan Fanxiang with a sneer. There's no need to elaborate. Lu He also lowered his voice and sneered. How could a centurion be a pushover? Tian Dan glanced into the distance and was suddenly startled. He said in a low voice, "The commander is coming." Ting Qingshan also looked into the distance. In the distance, the commander, Ji Hong, was striding over. Instantly, the 5 centurions quietened down and did not say anything else. "Commander!" The 5 of them bowed. Ji Hong glanced at the 5 of them, and a rare smile appeared on his face. Very good. Ting Qingshan did well this time. He discovered a few loopholes in the purple crystal mine's supervision and security. Now, the matters here are more or less settled. It's time for me to leave. Before I leave, there's something I need to confirm. The hearts of Ting Qingshan and the other 4 stirred. Shirasaki's limbs are crippled. From today onwards, he will definitely have to leave the black armored corps. Therefore, your battalion must also choose a new commandant, said Ji Hong. The hearts of Ting Qingshan and the other 4 warmed up. There were only 12 commandant in the entire Black Armored Corps. One must know that it was very difficult to fight for the position of the 4 great commanders. For example, the current 4 great commanders. Whether it was the first commander, Ji Hong, the second commander, Pang Shan, or the other 2 commanders, they were all inner disciples of the Gui Yuan sect. Among them, Ji Hong was the second martial uncle of the sect leader, Zhuge Yuanhong. His seniority was extremely high and he had been the first commander for decades. As for Pang Shan, he was the junior martial brother of Zhuge Yuanhong. He had been the commander for decades. As for the third commander, Zhang Feng, and the fourth commander, Guan Lu, they were both direct disciples of Zhuge Yuanhong. The position of commander was difficult to obtain. There was still some hope for the commandant. The new commandant of your battalion was personally appointed by the sect leader. I am here to convey the message, Ji Hong said coldly. Ting Qingshan and the other 4 were secretly looking forward to it. The sect leader, Zhuge Yuanhong, personally appointed him? Who was appointed? From today onwards, I, the commandant of the 3rd Battalion of the 1st Regiment of the Black Armored Corps, will be. Ji Hong's gaze swept across the 5 of them and said in a loud voice, Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan's eyes lit up. The other 4's hearts trembled. They were somewhat helpless and unwilling. But soon after, they felt relieved. According to the rules of the Gui Yuan sect, when it came to promoting people, under normal circumstances, they would promote the younger generation. Just look at the 3rd commander, Zhang Feng, and the 4th commander, Guan Lu. After all, the younger generation had greater potential. Just like them, Ting Qingshan had entered the sect through the entrance examination. In addition, over the past few months, everyone had been getting along well. There was no need to doubt Ting Qingshan's ability. Everyone felt relieved. Ting Qingshan. Ji Hong looked at Ting Qingshan. Sir. Ting Qingshan bowed. From today onwards, you are the new commandant. Ji Hong looked at Ting Qingshan. This is the sect leader's personal appointment. Although I don't understand why the sect leader would appoint a kid like you, who has just entered the Black Armored Corps for less than half a year, to the important position of commandant, I will naturally not disobey the sect leader's orders. As for the investigation of the purple gold theft case, you did a good job. I am quite satisfied. In the future, when you are under my command, don't disappoint me. If you do poorly, I will still dismiss you. Qingshan will remember. Ting Qingshan bowed. Ji Hong's coldness was famous in the Black Armored Corps. Even the 3rd and 4th commanders had been reprimanded by Ji Hong, let alone Ting Qingshan. Yes. Ji Hong nodded. When you return to the sect, I will give you the commandant's warhorse and heavy armor. All right, all of you continue to stay here. When the 3 months are up, you can go back. I will bring Shirasaki back to Jiangning County City first. You don't have to mobilize so many people to send me off. Normally, when a commander was sent off, the entire battalion would have to line up and respectfully send him off. However, this time, only Ting Qingshan and the other 4 led a small number of Black Armored Corps sergeants to send him off to the foot of the mountain. They watched as Commander Ji Hong led a dozen elites and Shirasaki away. Ting Qingshan and the others watched as the dozen riders disappeared at the end of the official road, raising a cloud of dust. Although that Shirasaki is disabled, he still has inner strength in his body. Otherwise, how could he sit steadily on a warhorse when it's running like that? Wan Fanxiang said with a smile. One of Shirasaki's legs was broken. In order for him to be able to withstand the running speed, Shirasaki's body was directly fixed on the saddle. Shirasaki was an expert at the peak of the post-liminary realm, so he could still sit steadily on a warhorse. All right, everyone, let's go up the mountain, Ting Qingshan said. We haven't congratulated Qingshan for becoming commandant, Tiandan said. As soon as his voice fell, subordinate pays respect to Lord Commandant. Lu He suddenly bowed to Ting Qingshan. Tian Dan also bowed and smiled. Subordinate pays respect to Lord Commandant. The other two also did the same. You guys. Ting Qingshan laughed. There are no outsiders here, just call me Qingshan. Let's not rigidly adhere to these smelly rules. Ting Qingshan also understood the rules. In a formal situation, he must call him Commandant. We are brothers in private, but you still have to call me Commandant. This rule cannot be broken. Du Hong, who was at the side, laughed. Brother Qingshan, at such a young age, your vigor of the reckless bull has already reached the 8th level, and your spear art is unparalleled. In the future, your future in our black armored corps is limitless. Tian Dan also nodded. From what I see, if Qingshan can endure for a few years, he might be able to become a commander. Being a commander is good. Now that the 4 commanders are core disciples, this rule has to be changed. Wan Fanxiang was eager to see the world in chaos. Qingshan, now that you are commandant, how about you choose the centurion of your troop? Lord Commander let you decide. Tian Dan asked, Qingshan, how about letting your cousin Ting Qinghu be the centurion? As soon as Tian Dan's voice fell, the other 3 frowned. The rules cannot be broken. Ting Qingshan ordered, from tomorrow onwards, the 50 sergeants of my battalion will start to compete. The final winner will be the centurion. Directly let cousin be a centurion? Ting Qingshan did have this authority, but it must be known that the Black Armored Corps recruits new people every 6 months. The weaker centurions would be eliminated and become sergeants. Therefore, even if he supported cousin now, it would be useless. Everything depended on cousin's own hard work. With cousin's strength, he should be close to a first-rated warrior. Ting Qingshan thought. In the following days, in the Tielyan mountain mining area outside of Huafeng City, the 50 sergeants began to compete. This competition depended on one's true ability. Victory or defeat was decided in one match. If one lost, there would be no more chances. Ting Qinghu shone in the competition. After all, during the entrance examination, Ting Qinghu was considered to be not bad. He had even practiced the Great Pillar Spear, and was good at listening. His spear art was amazing. After entering the Black Armored Corps, he practiced the vigor of the Reckless Bull. It must be known that Ting Qinghu had also practiced the Tiger Fist for many years. The Tiger Fist was the tiger form fist of the Xing E12 forms. After practicing the Tiger Fist for 6 to 7 years, 2 of Ting Qinghu's 8 extraordinary meridians had been opened. Ting Qinghu practiced the vigor of the Reckless Bull, and on the same day, he reached the 3rd level and started to practice the 4th level. Now that a few months had passed, Ting Qinghu had opened 3 meridians and started to open the 4th meridian. Opening 8 of the 8 extraordinary meridians meant that he had reached the 9th level. Ting Qinghu had opened 3 meridians, which meant that he had reached the 4th level and started to practice the 5th level. Ting Qingshan was clear. Cousin is now at the 5th level and can instantly explode with inner strength. Together with his physical strength, his strength is close to 10,000 jin. However, the impurities in cousin's 8 extraordinary meridians were originally sparse. Now that cousin is so eager for quick success and is using the vigor of the Reckless Bull method to push them out, it will be harder and harder for him to break through in the future. However, Ting Qingshan couldn't do anything about it. If he didn't let his cousin practice the vigor of the Reckless Bull, Ting Qinghu wouldn't be able to reach the Grandmaster realm, even if he was given another 20 years. The Grandmaster realm was too difficult. Since there was no other way, Ting Qingshan didn't stop his cousin from practicing the vigor of the Reckless Bull. In the competition, Ting Qinghu had the explosive strength of a first-rated warrior and his sharp and simple spear art. He actually won all the way until the last match. In the last match, His opponent was a first-rated warrior. In this match, Ting Qinghu relied on the fine control of his body muscles and his sharp spear art to defeat his opponent. Finally, Ting Qinghu became the new centurion. Under my guidance, Cousin's spear art is simple, but with the help of the listening technique, the power is not small. It is not surprising that he can become a centurion. However, the next recruitment is coming soon. Ting Qingshan pondered. With Cousin's strength, it is very likely that he will be reduced to one of the 8 weakest centurions. If he is challenged again, it is very likely that he will be eliminated and become a centurion again. From tomorrow onwards, I will teach Cousin the 5 techniques of the ardent flame. The 5 techniques of the ardent flame created by Ting Qingshan was a combination of the 5 techniques of the ardent flame spear art. The power of these 5 techniques was even stronger than Shirasaki's 9 spears of the morning sun. Especially the strongest technique, the inheritance of the ultimate flame, its power was even more shocking. Cousin Ting Qinghu, after learning the 5 techniques of the ardent flame, even if he learned 20 to 30% of it, it would be enough for him to be a centurion. If he could master it, he would be able to learn all 5 techniques. His strength would not be weaker than that of Shirasaki. 3931 monthly votes, an increase of more than 1,200 votes. Now it seemed that Tomato needed to have 12 consecutive days of success. There were still 40 more votes before Tomato would have 13 consecutive days of success. Today was the first day of the success, there was still the 3rd chapter today. The closing time for the monthly votes was at midnight. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.